Yeah, we have a squall here as well. That could be a right old leveller, as they say, don't they? But the party started here, the crowd having a high old time despite the rain. Pop star Mika's going to get these fans on their feet when he performs shortly. It's the big dance for the Webb Ellis Cup. Chris Jones, how fitting is this finale?
Well, we thought, didn't we, pre-tournament, this could have been the time the Northern Hemisphere dominated. In another world, it could be Ireland and France tonight, but it's not. It's these two great rugby nations who, when it mattered most in the knockouts, got the job done to book their place at the main event. Both have won 3 Rugby World Cups. Someone is winning a 4th tonight. The greatest rivalry in the sport, playing for the sport's biggest prize.
We can't wait. Coming up, all the build-up to this monumental final. But first, here's the news on 5 Live with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you. And in the past hour, Israel's Prime Minister has said the war with Hamas will be long and difficult. Benjamin Netanyahu's been giving an update on the ground operation in Gaza. Israeli tanks and troops moved in last night and airstrikes have continued. Let's take you to Tel Aviv and hear some of what Mr Netanyahu had to say. His words are spoken by a translator.
So many people around the world understand that Israel is fighting on behalf of the entire humankind. Our allies in the Western world and in the Arab world, that if we do not win, they will be next on the list of Hamas. Since the beginning of the war, there has been a coalition created. We have succeeded in it with Europe, President Biden, President Macron, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and so many others. They came during war times with a very clear message. We are hoping for your victory. Yes, it is good to stand together. And we would also hope and clarify there is one thing that we must do. Sometimes a nation has various options that it has to face. And I do not doubt how this will end. We will win. We will prevail. We are carrying out massive airstrikes in order to assist our ground forces as they go in. And we have used targeted killings and destroyed headquarters of the Hamas. This will be a long war. It is our second war of independence. We will fight and we will not surrender. We will not withdraw. Overground and underground. It will be a victory of the good over evil, because we are fighting for life, and we stand steadfast together, more united than ever. I pray on behalf of myself and all of us for the safety of our soldiers. And they will win, because we are together, and together it will prevail.
Well, Mr Netanyahu also said he'll use every option available to free hostages held by Hamas in Gaza after meeting representatives of their families earlier. And residents of Gaza City and the northern parts of the territory are being warned to move south urgently. Leaflets have been dropped warning people the area is now a battlefield. Hamas-run authorities say hundreds of buildings were destroyed in air and artillery strikes, and that at least 377 were killed in the last 24 hours. Israel's military says its warplanes hit 150 underground targets targets, including tunnels and other infrastructure. Here, tens of thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators have marched through central London and a number of other cities calling for a ceasefire. In London, one man was arrested in connection with racist remarks and another was detained after a police officer was assaulted. I'll be back with more at half-time in the Rugby World Cup final, and Nick Eardley here from 10:30 tonight on 5 Live with more analysis of the situation. In the meantime, you can stay up to date via the BBC News website and app or on the BBC News channel.
BBC 5 Live.
The voice of sport. 5 Live. Premier League Sunday. Live and exclusive action from the Premier League. At 1, West Ham United host Everton. And at 3:30, Old Trafford hosts the first Manchester derby of the season.
Haaland is charging forward to the edge of the... Haaland! Oh! Unleashes a left boot with so much ferocity! Maguire heads it up! McTominay! Manchester United win it in the den! 5
Live Premier League Sunday. Don't miss a moment with BBC Sounds. Rugby World Cup 2023 on 5 Live Sport and BBC Sounds with Sonia McLaughlin.
Who'd have thought that when South Africa and New Zealand met in that iconic final in 1995, we'd have to wait so long for these two behemoths to collide again in the sport's greatest showpiece. The pretenders to the crown have fallen away, leaving the two most dominant World Cup teams poised for a seismic showdown. It's been nearly 30 years in the making, but we're set for the ultimate World Cup final.
With all the history behind the two teams.
Draxley with the drop. Is it good? It's through the post. South Africa 15, New Zealand 12.
With all the battles behind the two teams.
Between the legs of Spencer and the try for Rokafoko. And an enormous black cloud still hovers over the World Cup. They've beaten South Africa by 29 points to 9.
And now we're both going to create history. That's why it makes this match so special.
It's been a week of anticipation, excitement, a few nerves, I have to be honest, but yeah, what an opportunity it is for us.
Andre Pollard with 2.5 minutes to go.
He's the guy of all the South Africans you'd want on the field to have a crack.
Here is Pollard, he kicks for the lead, what a strike, has he got the distance? Easily! South Africa lead for the first time tonight. England 15, South Africa 16.
Breakaway here by New Zealand, the ball's going to be hacked on, it's Will Jordan, he's already got 7 tries in this World Cup, the bounce of the ball's a beauty, he goes over, absolutely glorious, what a night to be Will Jordan.
Ibn Etzebeth charging on, one-man drive, scores! Ibn Etzebeth!
They push it out wide, who's waiting out there? It's over by Surveyor.
England lose it forward and South Africa celebrate, and it's South Africa who go into the World Cup final.
The All Blacks are in the final. Their dream of the 4th title is still alive.
It's who we play for. I have my motives of playing. The guy next to me has different motives of playing as well. But the one that brings us together is South Africa. And we are one of the people that can actually control how they feel, their mood. We can put a smile on their face.
It's one of the few times our country truly comes together and we're starting to feel that support.
I honestly don't think in our lifetime we'll get to experience this. That's how big it is.
Two great rugby nations with 3 World Cups each. Who's going to step up and make it 4?
Well, there's a frisson of excitement in the air that only comes on a huge occasion like this. There's been a buzz in Paris all day, and that's extended to the Stade de France right now. The crowd, well, they're nearly all in their seats. The white seats have turned a multicoloured hue. Both sets of players on the pitch starting to warm up. Commentary of New Zealand against South Africa from 8 o'clock, and they might not have faced each other since that final in 1995. But they have each claimed the ultimate prize 3 times. So Chris Jones, history tonight for one of these two.
1987, 2011 and 2015 for the All Blacks. 1995, so famously, 2007, and 4 years ago in 2019 for the Springboks. But only one team has gone back-to-back, the All Blacks. Can South Africa do the same tonight? Or are New Zealand going to put a dodgy World Cup cycle behind them and claim the sport's biggest prize? No team has won this 4 times. Both of these great rugby nations locked on 3. Someone's going into the history book, Sonia, in a couple of hours' time.
As the crowd respond to the South African team being read out on the big screen. Our team tonight, read straight from a Rugby Hall of Fame. We're joined by the man who is still the only captain from the home nations to have lifted the Well-Evis Trophy when he did it with England in 2003, Martin Johnson. Chris is going to be joined in commentary by World Cup winners Matt Dawson and Bobby Skinstad, and former All Black legend Andrew Mertens will bring us all the tactical twists and turns from the touchline. Martin, it's very nearly the 20th anniversary of when you lifted the Well-Evis Trophy back in 2003. Does a night like this bring it all flooding back?
Not really. It's 20 years ago. I'm just watching them warm up, and you couldn't really read anything into it until the South Africans started doing their team run, and they were just so utterly direct. So you know what you're going to get with those boys tonight.
Bobby, the last time you were in that seat, you could barely speak, given the tension in that semi-final against England. How are the nerves now that South Africa are here?
Well, they're still jangling, I suppose. It's been a week where you feel close enough to the team as a supporter and as an ex-player, but it's their night, so the nerves need to be arm's length away. I'll try and speak this time. I've done some work in the week to at least not sit back and panic completely every time something big happens on the field, but I think we're going to see an epic clash tonight.
South Africans jog back to the dressing room, the All Blacks about to follow them, who appear to be jogging off in tandem, in formation. Matt Dawson, huge expectations ahead of this World Cup that France or Ireland might strike a blow for the Northern Hemisphere. Not to be. As a neutral tonight, how good is this?
It was always going to be a phenomenal showpiece that the French were going to put on. I think we had a taste of that in the Six Nations last year, and I think the games played by particularly France, Ireland, South Africa, New Zealand have taken it to a new level, and so even though you've got, not only have you got the two titans of world rugby, but the two teams that are, certainly some of the teams that are furthest away in the world than we are, and yet the place is packed full of black jerseys, full of green jerseys, and the spaces in between have been packed by the French fans because they are in love with rugby at the moment, and this is a great opportunity to, even though we don't have a Northern Hemisphere team in this final, this is a great opportunity for the game on a global scale, and definitely to help Northern Hemisphere rugby as well.
Martin, if South Africa win this World Cup, they will have done it the hard way. They'll have faced every other team in the world's top six en route to this final. Battle-hardened or potentially spent?
Well, both. Potentially both. We'll find out. It's so much more the mental challenge. I'm sure they've looked very relaxed warming up till they did their team run, like I said, and they looked utterly focused and very, very direct. The last two World Cups, I think it's been very noticeable. One team has been less intense than the other at the start, and that team has lost the game. I don't think that will happen today. I don't think they'll both come out utterly focused and full of intensity, and it will be the team that can play within that intensity and the pressure that will eventually win the game. They're going to play slightly different ways, which is fantastic. So it should be a fascinating game. But from the start, I imagine this is going to be 100 miles an hour and utterly attritional.
The lights have just dimmed, actually, and the Well-Evis Trophy has been placed on a plinth on the touchline by Dan Carter, twice a World Cup winner, of course, with the All Blacks. Martin, South Africa have laid their store out, haven't they? And you don't need a crystal ball to see where they're going with a 7-1 split on the bench. It's all about power. Do you like it?
Well, that's what South Africa are. They're playing up to their long-held reputation as the biggest, baddest, strongest team in world rugby. That's what they do. So I quite like people being what they are. You know what you're going to get. I always say when you play South Africa, don't come off thinking, oh, they were physical. You know what's coming. Yeah, and it's coming tonight. So the challenge for the All Blacks obviously is can they match it? Can they counter it? They're not going to take them on in their own game, but they have to stop them playing theirs to enable them to be able to play their game where they'll look, when those opportunities are there, to be able to pass the ball a little bit more and try and find some space out wide. That's the beauty of this game tonight.
Are you a fan of Mika? What do you think of his suit?
Who's he playing for? Oh no, right.
He's over in the far side. The aforementioned.
This is a great spectacle. The lights are out.
It's fabulous.
As a player, you don't see this. You're doing your thing, but this is pretty cool.
And away in the far corner there is Mika in his gold suit, which is glittering in the lights, banging out his one of his popular hits in Grace Kelly. Matt Dawson, South Africa have 4 scrum halves in their squad, but they've only got 1 in the 23. Bit of a risk?
Well, listen, I think we could probably say that South Africans have taken the most risks of this tournament. They're used to it. I don't think they probably see it as risk. It's calculation. It's what's needed for South Africa to win each game. They've been, led by Ninaba and Erasmus. They have been supreme in their selection, which certainly Jono, Bobby and I know is so important to get right if you're going to compete and win this competition, getting the selection right. And because of the ups and downs that South Africa had, Erasmus and Nima have absolutely nailed it. So yes, it's a 7-1. Yes, there's no scrum half on the bench, but they're going to back that Kolbe can go in there and do 10, 20, 30 minutes, a different proposition if Van der Klerk goes down very early. But the way that South Africa play, I just can't see that happening. I think it's a wise selection given where South Africa have been over the last 7 weeks.
Martin, Ian Foster nearly lost his job a year ago. The All Blacks went through a turbulent period. They lost 6 games, 8 tests. Did you envisage that they'd be here again on this biggest stage?
You never underestimate them. Yeah. It's funny, before the World Cup, they got beaten heavily by South Africa. Everyone was talking about them. Then France beat the All Blacks the opening game. Everyone's talking France, and Ireland beat South Africa. Everyone's talking Ireland up. That quarter-final, I saw Richie McCaw the week before it, and people were asking him how they're going to go, Richie, and he just quietly said, we'll have a game in us. And I just thought you'd never, ever, ever underestimate the All Blacks in rugby unless you're a complete fool. So them making a World Cup final is not a surprise. The great thing with this tournament, we probably had 4 teams that you maybe thought coming in could win it. And 2 of them are here now.
Mika is still doing his thing over on the far side of the pitch from us, probably enjoying it from his vantage point touchline. Is All Black legend Andrew Mertens. Mertens, what's it must be like to be down there right now?
Yeah, good evening, guys. Absolutely fantastic. They've, switched off the stadium lights, as I'm sure you've said, and it is spectacular. The flashing around in the crowd, and obviously the scenes over in the corner with the music and the sparklers going off. I can't see any bottle of bubbly at the bottom there. Jono would have been probably expecting that, but there isn't any yet. But no, it's a fantastic atmosphere down here sideline.
Got the pyrotechnics as well around Mika. It's quite the spectacle. The All Blacks weren't favourites coming into this tournament, Mert. Do you think they're now favourites for this game?
Oh, I don't think either team wants to be favourites, and to be honest, I think it's just too hard to pick. I don't think it matters. I think we've got the 2 best squads, the 2 deepest squads in the tournament have made it to this final. I think, there are arguments for France and Ireland being better teams in terms of their best 15 players, but I really think, we've talked about the bomb squad a lot, but then the All Black bench is significant as well. So we do have the 2 deepest squads, and I think that's a great thing for rugby.
Yeah, Martin, what must it be like being in those dressing rooms right now? You've been there on the moments before you, as captain, led your team out, ready to take on Australia, in your case, for the World Cup. Take us into that dressing room. What's it like?
Well, these guys play big games. This is the biggest. A lot of the South Africans have been there before. Not so much with the Kiwis, but a few have. So I don't think they'll be. Just watching them warm up, as I said, they look very much business as usual. This is what we do. We're going to come out and play how we play, and we've got to be the best version of ourselves to win. So I think they'll be very, very controlled. Of course, they'll be nervous and anxious, but that's part of it before any test match. So I expect both teams to hit the ground absolutely running and not take time to settle into the game. You never know. You can be forced into an error. Anything can happen. But I think, like Andrew said, it's so close. There seems to be a little bit of people favouring New Zealand for whatever reason. that can just be people following everyone else. I think it's too close to call, and should be a great game of rugby. And being the World Cup final, that'll be a good thing, hopefully.
Sia Kolisi is singing as he usually does. Sam Cane, the All Blacks captain, takes the hand of a small girl to his right who will join him as he leads the All Blacks onto the pitch. He looks like a sentry on duty outside a royal residence, his face full of focus. This is the big one. It's the World Cup final of 2023. Which one of these two great sides will make it 4 times champions? Chris Jones.
Thank you, Sonia. I don't think in our lifetime we'll get to experience this again. The words of Sia Kolisi, who has led his Springbok team out onto the greasy Stade de France turf, and Sam Cane, like a lot of the All Blacks, somewhat written off pre-tournament. He's led out the All Blacks. Cane and his teammates have played like men with a point to prove over the last few weeks. The lights, the colour, the razzmatazz, it has got a huge match feel. It is the biggest game in rugby union. It is the World Cup final, and it's these two great rugby nations, perhaps the two biggest and best of them all. And certainly when it comes to World Cups, one of them is going to do what no team has done before and make it 4. The All Blacks stripped off, tracksuits off already, in their black shorts, black tops and black socks. South Africa still have their green tracksuit tops on. Both sets of players linking arms. The South African anthem comes in a moment, but first, the national anthem of New Zealand. The rain continues to fall at the Stade, but not a spare seat in the house, as you would expect for the World Cup final. The Haka in a moment, but first, the South African national anthem. go then, moments away from the Rugby World Cup final 2023. As we wait for the Haka, a quick word from Andrew Mertens on the touchline. How are you feeling, Mert, with moments to go?
Well, I actually think I've calmed down now, and that's like the players will be feeling. This is the best part of the week for them. All the nerves can go now, basically, because you don't have time to think and worry. You're just into the action, and I've been pretty nervous, a lot more nervous than I thought, but just hearing those belted out there, we're into it now. Now we've got what we have to deal with in front of us. We don't have to worry or think about it or ruminate anymore, and the All Blacks going in for a little huddle. I don't pretend to know what their thought process is around which haka they will use, the traditional kamate or the more recent kapa or pango, but we'll soon see.
Bobby Skinstad, what's going through the minds of the Springbok players who are waiting patiently on the 10-metre line for the All Blacks haka?
Yeah, amazing, fantastic anthem so far, and the players are ready to face one of the greatest dances in the history of rugby.
Matt Dawson, here we go. As the Marseillaise rings out around the Stade de France, how those French fans would wish it was Le Bleu. But it's South Africa, it's New Zealand, and it's the haka. Captain Sam Cane at the front of the haka, but led by Aaron Smith, one of the all-timers. Aaron Smith, 125th cap. This will be his last for New Zealand as he heads off to Japan. So let's go through the New Zealand side, looking to add to the World Cup wins of 87, 2011 and 2015. The front row is Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor and Tyrell Lomax. Brodie Retallick and Scott Barrett in the second row. Barrett, one of three brothers in this lineup, Shannon Frizzell, Sam Cane and the great Ardie Savea, one of the contenders for World Player of the Year, make up the back row. The aforementioned Aaron Smith at 9 with Rishi Mwanga at 10, Geordie Barrett, Rieko Ioane in the midfield, Mark Telaire, Will Jordan and Bowden Barrett, the New Zealand back three. And here are the Springboks. 14 of this 23 were World Cup winners 4 years ago. How much experience do they have? Stephen Kitsoff, Bongi Mbonambi and Frans Malherbe in the front row. Eben Etzebeth and Franco Mostert in the second row. Siya Kolisi, Peter Steph de Toit and Dwayne Vermeulen in the back row. Faf de Klerk and Andre Pollard come in at 9 and 10. Damien Deolande and Jesse Creel in the midfield. Cheslin Kolbe, Kurt Lorenz of the Flyers on the wing. And Damien Willemse at full-back. Lights all around at the Stade de France. The referee is Wayne Barnes, a fitting honour for the 44-year-old Englishman, his first World Cup final, and how he deserves this privilege. Matt Dawson, a quick word from you. You've been here in 2003. We've done so many big games on 5 Live. It has that big match feel. Of course it does, it's the World Cup final.
Yeah, players will be looking forward just to get on with it, razzle dazzle, watch the lights, let the crowd shout and scream, but Wayne Barnes blow the whistle so they can get going. It's been a long week. It's been an incredibly long day to get to 9 o'clock, fidgeting around, just ready for this kickoff. I have to say, in the warm-ups, All Blacks look so slick, so sharp, kicking the leather off the ball. I thought South Africa looked a little bit nervous. They looked a little bit edgy, couple of drop balls. But it can work the other way. It's a strange one for you. You tend to warm up badly, play well. So it's going to be a cracker, Chris, no question.
102 years and 105 matches of rivalry between these two nations, and 28 years on from 1995, we go again in the final, as Wayne Barnes says, let's go to work, and Barrett kicks down the throat of Willemse, who clears competently up to halfway, and Bobby Skinstad, New Zealand with the first set-piece opportunity to the line, out bang on halfway, just below us here.
Yeah, I think you just slightly over-nudged that. I'm not sure that they would have wanted a non-competing first kick, but Damien Willemse was able to get to it and get it out past the halfway.
They go off the top, New Zealand. Geordie Barrett Telea's off his wing. They might work it to the edge. So even though the conditions are very, very wet, it's still drizzling heavily. New Zealand putting it through the hands. Willemse calls the mark. No scrum this time. And he clears. So tit for tat, Matt Dawson back on the other side of the pitch, line out in the same spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, clever thinking from the All Blacks. That's a lovely dry ball off the top of the line out. It's not touching the ground. That's the one that you can maybe spread a little bit wide. As soon as it goes on the deck, though, you will see plenty of picking and going.
Well, Cody Taylor's line-out almost picked off by Mostert, but it's back on the All Black side. Mwanga's pass has gone to ground, and Cheslin Kolbe hacked on. Cody Taylor has to go back. Almost an opportunity there for the Springboks, but it's been wrestled back onto the New Zealand side as Aaron Smith pops it up. His forwards drive on. Ardie Savea it is, just outside the 22. And yeah, Bongi Mbonambi, wow, this is a big moment, because Mbonambi's been in the eye of the storm this week. Remember, is the only specialist hooker really in this South Africa side. It's been lost forward by Willemse. We've got to keep an eye on play, but also on Mbonambi, who's getting treatment. Etzebeth has folded Mwanga, but it's still play on, and New Zealand have it. 10-metre line inside their own half. It is all happening here. Bobby Skinstad, I'll bring you in on Mbonambi, who's getting treatment, but let's see if New Zealand can do anything with the ball in hand. 0-0 after a couple of minutes on 5 Live, as Wayne Barnes calls a knock-on against South Africa. It'll be a scrum to New Zealand, 45 metres from their own line, but Mbonambi getting treatment. And this is one of those injuries Rassie Erasmus and Jack Nienaber would have feared, given, with due respect to Dion Fourie, who's got lots of experience at hooker.
Yeah, that's a head twist. That's not great. I mean, he's folded over on Mbonambi.
He's in trouble, isn't he? He's got to be in trouble there. That's a very dangerous tackle from the All Blacks on the clear out, round the head. Bobby, he was always going to stay down, I think, because he knew that was a net roll.
Yeah, Shannon Frizzell there, it looks like his body's leaned on Mbonambi's leg, and then his arm's gone around his neck, which is the twist. I mean, it's a classic mistake by him. I mean, Mbonambi's he's limped over the ball, he's competing for the ball, but the clean out is completely illegal.
I mean, there are 2 physios on at the moment. Reason being, the first physio went on to see Mbonambi and got absolutely clattered by Rikiwani and virtually knocked him out. I mean, there were people all over the place.
Your first angle will be the best angle.
Well, they are checking the clear by Frizzell on Mbonambi. Tom Foley's a TMO.
Roll a player, but what they can't do is drop their weight onto a player's leg.
Exactly. Your replay's coming now, Gonzi.
Still got nothing on the screen.
Coming now.
We're listening to the officials.
Okay, so we've got a player over the ball. Number 6 drops his weight onto the leg, so that is foul play. That's not an attempt to roll. So we do have foul play. Do we agree with that?
Agreed.
Okay, and he's dropped his weight onto an exposed leg, so the minimum yellow card threshold is met. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, we all agree.
Shannon Frizzell is getting a yellow card, and it could be upgraded to red. There'll be 10 minutes for the bunker to review it, but a nightmare start for New Zealand with Frizzell going off, but also a potentially devastating start for South Africa if they lose Bongi Mbonambi, who's still getting treatment down there, Bob.
Yeah, and the difficult thing, I mean, I watched Shannon Frizzell play a number of times. He's a big guy. I don't think he's gone in to specifically hurt that leg, but Bongi Mbonambi is so crucial to the South African team that the emotions are going to be higher than usual in terms of the team and how they deal with it.
Yeah, Mbonambi there getting up and trying to walk it off a little bit, just bending his right knee. He knows, the team knows. You can imagine the team getting around him saying, we need you, fella. Do whatever you possibly can. Try and limp it up. Frizzell got out of position on the clear out. It was it's hardly lazy. It was in the first couple of minutes, but he didn't realise how much effort he would have had to put into that clear out, got out of position. And I mean, you tell me, Chris, you are our discipline expert.
Yeah, it'll be about the level of danger, and the fact that Mbanambi has stayed on. He's still struggling though, and just for clarity, Malcolm Marks is a fantastic hooker, was injured during the tournament. Here's Pollard for 3-0, and Pollard, it's in off the post, so it's over, and South Africa lead in the World Cup final. South Africa 3, New Zealand 0. Mbanambi is coming off now. He's tried to run it off, and he simply can't. And this is a huge blow for South Africa. On comes Dion Fourie. Bob, you're confident this guy's played plenty of hooker. He's 37, but more recently he's been a back row forward. They opted not to bring in a specialist hooker when Marks got injured, and now they've lost Bongi Mbanambi after just 3 minutes, South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, losing Shannon Frizzell for a yellow card is a huge blow to New Zealand. Losing Bongi Mbanambi in the first 3 minutes is almost unbelievably too big for South Africa.
Yeah, so we will wait to see whether that yellow card is upgraded, whether it stays as a yellow. 9 minutes left on Frizzell's yellow card. New Zealand 0, South Africa 3. We'll bring in All Blacks legend Andrew Mertens, who's on the touchline in a moment, but let's see what happens here as de Klerk kicks down the channel. Mo'unga takes it. Aaron Smith out to Brodie Retallick. 109th cap for the second row, Retallick. Halfway line just short, the All Blacks. Here's Ardie Savea, who's tackled well by that green wall. Remember, New Zealand have played in 3 World Cup finals. They've won them all, and they've never even conceded a try. As Lomax is caught slow ball, so Smith comes to the left, Mo'unga. They're looking to put width on the ball, New Zealand. They always do. Curly Arons's in there tackling Mark Telea. Slow and methodical from the All Blacks, but not particularly incisive yet. Still around about the halfway line, so you'd expect they'll go to the boot fairly soon. Barrett's up from fullback. No, still looking to run it here, New Zealand. Retallick trucks it up. They've gone back a couple of metres as they come to the left once more, and Ethan de Groot. And Matt Dawson, so far so good from the Springboks defensively.
Yeah, I mean, All Blacks have got to be careful here because it's just going into the South African mentality. They are in the blocks. South Africa are ready to get out of those blocks quickly. And yes, Aaron Smith's going to the air, but it should have been done 4 phases ago, really.
Up goes Pollard. Good take from Handré Pollard, the hero last week for South Africa with that nerveless kick at the death. Picked up by Dion Fourie, age 37. What a little international career he's having right at the end of his rugby journey as de Klerk goes to kicks. Let's bring in Andrew Mertens on the touchline. All happening down there, Mertz.
Yes, it is. And look, I didn't see the Mbanambi incident right from here because my teeth were still rattling from the big hit from Etzebeth. As we see Richie Mo'unga go up, I was watching Mo'unga to see whether he was able to shake that off, that massive hit. So didn't see that. I'll espouse the New Zealand view later on Shannon Frizzell.
Yeah, and on that, as Beauden Barrett kicks towards opposite number Willems, who takes it in. Good tackle coming in on Willems, the 10-metre line in the back half. Matt Dawson just pointed out that Luke Pearce, one of the officials tonight, is having a long chat with a member of the New Zealand backroom staff. So wait to see for any news on that Frizzell decision as Jordan is caught by Kolbe, and back goes Beauden Barrett inside his own 22. 6 minutes gone, 3-0 to the Springboks, who've lost Bongi Mbanambi to injury, but Frizzell's gone to the sin bin for an illegal clear out, a kind of roll when he forced his way down on Mbanambi, which led to the injury. So it's all happening in the opening 6 minutes on 5 Live Sport from the BBC. As the cries of Boca ring around Saint-Denis, north of Paris. And all the play really, Bob, has taken place down in this New Zealand half as Smith clears towards Damien Willems.
Yeah, absolutely. Willems, South Africa tested under the high ball. New Zealand continuing with the same attack. It's aerial.
Peter Steff drives down the left touchline, so a bit of phase play now for the Springboks as de Klerk finds Pollard, 10-metre line inside All Blacks territory. Big carry by Eben Etzebeth, bust the gain line a little bit. Now Pollard, 10-metre line, out to Damien Delandi. Again, a bit of width on the ball from South Africa. Didn't see much of that last week. Admittedly, it's slightly better conditions, although they're both pretty difficult to keep the ball in hand. Last weekend, filthy. This one, drizzling. but not quite as torrential as de Klerk goes to Pollard, who will go crossfield for Cheslin Kolbe. Tester for Richie Mwanga. Up goes Mwanga. That's gone loose. Geordie Barrett saves the day, but he kicks it out, and it will give Matt Dawson a great line-out opportunity for the Springboks.
Yeah, brilliant kick from Henri Pollard there. I mean, you thought, is that just a smidge too deep? Is it going to be easy for Barrett to call the mark? Oh, no, it wasn't. Right on the money. And these fine margins from semi-final to final, where last week against England, those kicks were just bouncing England's way, or England were taking those kicks with aplomb, whereas South Africa, of their accuracy, their tightness in these areas, Bobby, very, very different week to week.
Yeah, they have been tight. I'm just watching. They've actually called that, although there was a clearance kick, Matt, I think it looked like Cheslin Kolbe got a hand onto that, so New Zealand will get a bit of respite. They'll get a scrum, I think, to their ball instead of the attacking line-out of South Africa.
Yeah, good spot, Bobby Skinstad, former Bok captain, a World Cup winner in 2007. So instead of a Springbok line-out, 10-12 metres out, it is going to be a New Zealand scrum, and as you pointed out, Bob, the first scrum of the game.
Well, it's first scrum of the game, and New Zealand are 7 against 8. South Africa will be licking their chops for this as an opportunity, because they believed early on that the extra forwards were what were going to help them. We're seeing Cheslin Kolbe, he's just shaking off what seems like a whack that he got. He was high in the air, and him and Mwanga went for the same ball. He just, when you get almost the legs, the two of them hit at the same time, and he went from about 6 foot to straight onto his back. So I think he's got a real whack.
Just trying to keep an eye on who New Zealand may move from the back line into that scrummage. You can't possibly imagine New Zealand going up 7 against 8. The priority is set piece. Get the ball in and away, get it in play, do not risk. You know where this power is going to come from South Africa, and that's straight through the guts.
Dawson's Geordie Barrett who's going in there. They may as well put him into lock with the height he's got too.
He could lock down with his brother.
Yeah, that's... Well, we've now got... Yeah, so we've got 3 Barretts on the field, haven't we? Scott Barrett at lock, Geordie Barrett at inside centre, Beauden Barrett at fullback, but as Andrew Mertens on the touchlines pointed out, Geordie Barrett's gone to the flank, so 2 Barretts in the pack now. Big first scrum. They need a quick feed and a quick heel here, and they've just about managed it, but then Ardie Saveur's lost it. Aaron Smith's under pressure. This is a really strong start from the Springboks, who lead by 3. They've lost Bongi and Banambi permanently to injury. Dion Farion at hooker, but the intervention from Shannon Frizzell, the act that forced the injury, could well see him have his yellow card upgraded to a red. We still await news on that, as Aaron Smith clears, and now it will be a Springbok line out. Not as close as it could have been to the line, but about 30 odd metres out.
Well, the longer that time clicks on that 10 minutes of simping, if you're a New Zealand fan, you're going to be edgy, because it means they're looking at plenty of replay. South Africa going quick.
Driven on by Damien Deolande, who is hit back well in the tackle by New Zealand. Oh, and they've gone to a setting up a maul. They did that in Yokohama 4 years ago at the World Cup final, led to 3 points. This time Wayne Barnes doesn't see any offence. Baf de Klerk with a box kick. It's horrible from Mwanga, who takes it well, and then he's cut in half by Pieter-Steph de Toit, but he called the mark. It is fierce and it's ferocious, Bob, as you would expect in a World Cup final. 9 minutes gone, New Zealand 0, South Africa 3.
Yeah, we've seen all of the bits of the boxer tricks of Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Nienaber already. They've done a sort of a I don't know, hastily put together driving maul in the middle of the field. The kick for touch is missed, though. Here's Willemse chasing his own kick.
Willemse puts it up, another nasty one. Mwanga, who's again hit by Pieter-Steph. It's shades of 4 years ago, Matt Dawson, when Pieter-Steph just had George Ford in his sights all game, and maybe that's a tactic for Pieter-Steph to just be on the case of the All Blacks 10 all night, and so far he's done it very fair, legal but hard.
Yeah, if you think about big games for South Africa, huge game for South Africa over the years, there is always one name that gets mentioned in big hits, big performances. I mean, he's a huge big match player.
World Rugby's Player of the Year back in 2019 as Kolbe hits a cross kick. It goes to the hands of Willemse. That was accidental but worked out brilliantly. Willemse kicked, across goes Barrett. It is all Springboks here, Andrew Mertens, as they've got the line out, only 15 metres out from the New Zealand line.
Yes, Kolbe looking to counter-attack there. He had a beautiful angle. We had a great view of what he was seeing because he was coming straight at us when the kick went, and that also came straight to us. I don't think it was meant that way, but it ended up very, very fortuitous, really, and the Springboks really putting pressure on. Be interesting here to see how the New Zealanders approach this line-out. Do they put someone up to compete? They haven't got Sam Whitelock, who is their line-out supremo, but will they compete or give up some ground on the maul?
Dion Faree's throw, well taken by Etzebeth. The pitch cutting up already in the All Blacks 22, but it's a perfectly set maul by the Springboks, who lead by 3 on 5 live as the rain pours down in Saint-Denis, north of Paris, at a packed-out Stade de France. Still they're driving, the Springboks. The power play from the world champions, but well defended by the All Blacks. It stayed in play, however, and Peter Steff drives on to about 8 or 9 metres out. Still there for South Africa, their best attacking position of the final so far, which is 11 minutes old. Centre field for Faf de Klerk, driven on Frans Malherbe. Shadow of the All Blacks post in centre field. Here's Stephen Kitsoff, who's upended, but only 6 metres out. Power plus this from the box. Great drive to within 5. Faf goes wide. Here's Damien Willemse, silky over to Kolbe, who steps. A try 4 years ago, looking for another. He's caught but gets up again. 5 metres out for Faf de Klerk. Here's Malherbe once more, the tight head, helped out by Vermeulen and Kolisi. It's been turned over illegally by New Zealand. They weren't rolling away. Cody Taylor singled out, and South Africa continued to boss this final. And now, Bob Skinstad, it's a big call against 14 men with Frizzell still in the bin. Do you go for goal? Do you strung? Do you put it in the corner?
Okay, thanks.
Hold on, let's listen in.
See ya. Just so you know, we've looked at that yellow card. It remains a yellow card. He's not targeting the leg. He's fallen onto it. Okay, so it remains a yellow card. He's fallen onto it.
So clear comms there from referee Barnes to the Springbok captain Kolisi about why Frizzell is going to return. His sin bin is up. It stays as yellow. And Bob, it's going to be a kick for goal from Pollard to double the Springboks' lead.
Yeah, well, the Springboks have been efficient here. I really think that, I mean, we might have even seen them go to the corner, but it's a final. They're going to go for the points. You can see Cody Taylor's tried to come over the top and knock the ball back, but in my mind, you know, that ball's been lost anyway. It's at the base of the scrum. Faf de Klerk was just held in a little bit, so he's given away basically a time penalty. It's he hasn't allowed the Springboks the quick ball they were looking for.
Pollard sneaks it in, and South Africa lead by 6 in the final. And Matt Dawson, in a way, will New Zealand feel, given that Bok barrage and given they've been down to 14, 6 points could have been a bit worse?
Potentially, it could have, yeah. However, as Frizzell comes back on, New Zealand, the coaches need to get some messaging on, because actually New Zealand are playing into the hands of South Africa. The picture that South Africa want to play, you've seen by trying to set up a drive in maul with 8 players waiting to. You could have thrown a blanket over those South African players. They want to go short round the fringes. They want to go down the short side. New Zealand have got to play a little bit rugby. Otherwise, South Africa are just going to eat away at a lead, and it's very difficult to get that back.
Yeah, vintage Bok rugby as the big carriers came in waves, and Pollard has kicked the Boks into a 6-0 lead, and they win this aerial battle, South Africa. No, it went out, and New Zealand were able to take it quickly. Tlair finds Bowden Barrett, who finds younger brother Geordie. Halfway line. Bit of ball here for New Zealand, who trailed by 6, but they're up to 15. Nice move. Mwanga over to the far side, and the returning Frizzell, who's gone on the charge and goes over the 10-metre line. This is the closest I think All Blacks have been. 40 metres out, they get a penalty as South Africa tackle without the ball. So Andrew Mertens on the touchline. A bit of a settler now for New Zealand,
Tackle the man without the ball,
who have been second best so far tonight.
Absolutely, and getting a little bit of territory, the chance to stay up there. We saw them in the Twickenham game concede a lot of time in their own 22 in the early stages, and then the Boks ran away with it in the second half, so maybe leg weary. I think, I'll run the risk of being called biased here with New Zealand, but I thought that was a good call on Frizzell. I think he was trying to pull the player to the side. Let's face it, Bonambi was lying right over the tackle player. He was just trying to pull him off to the side. I don't think he had enough time to target a leg, so I'm glad to see that hasn't gone to red, of course.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mertz. It definitely didn't look like he was trying to force himself on it. He was just making the mistake of doing the neck roll before, which is, yellow card and back on. Great for the game.
Taylor throws. Has Barrett won that? Yes, just about. Taylor peels away. There comes Geordie Barrett. Big tackle, but a decent carry as well from the youngest Barrett. Mark Tellaire's off his wing looking for work. New Zealand in South African territory now. 20 metres out, maybe a couple fewer as they drive on again. 6-0 to the box, but this is the best bit of ball the All Blacks have had so far, and their supporters know it. Quarter of an hour gone in the Stade. A penalty advantage to New Zealand as South Africa are caught offside. Which way will Smith go? They've got a free shot at this. Frizzell, who's had 10 minutes to rest, he drives on, only 10 metres out now. Aaron Smith goes to Talaia, who's a first receiver, the wing, coming off the left wing too, carry in the middle of the park. Aaron Smith out to Mwanga, nice little post. And a couple of Barretts combined, still there. 3 Barretts combined, that was Geordie, Bowden and Scott, all touching the ball in a row. Aaron Smith, Ethan de Groot, still about 15 metres out, still dangerous this by the All Blacks and for South Africa. Aaron Smith to the left, Geordie Barrett kicks for Arnie Surveyor, all on the bounce. Arnie sat up for Willemse and dotted down, no advantage, back we go. But Matt Dawson, what an opportunity, that could have been gobbled up by Arnie Surveyor.
Brilliant from New Zealand to pick the right moment, the perfect moment. Geordie Barrett just giving that cheeky little nudge over to the space when not so much panic defence from South Africa, but they needed to press up. New Zealand won a freebie. That was a perfect gamble, and for the bounce of a ball. New Zealand were under the sticks with Surveyor. Should be an easy 3.
Yeah, they were just going that scramble defence, which both of these teams do very, very well. Happened there.
The players bend to the hips, there's no foul play.
Okay, just so you know, it's a glancing contact with the head, but the player is bent and there's no foul play. Okay, you're going to go for goal. No worries.
Okay, so you heard there, Wayne Barnes getting comms from Tom Foley. Ethan de Groot was getting treatment. There was head contact, but the officials very clearly explaining why it was no foul play. The player bent down and a glancing blow. Mwanga is going for goal to put New Zealand on the board after their best passage to the final so far.
Yeah, I was sort of watching New Zealand go through the phases there, and it was 3 or 4 so they could regenerate their back line so that they could come up with a move like that. Really impressive the way that All Blacks were just nudging around the corner, then maybe off Mwanga, waiting for just the quicker ruck, ever so slightly that quicker ruck, and then New Zealand are ready to pounce. They do have a pattern, they're very effective. That's what South Africa have got to watch out for.
Here's Richie Mwanga, the fly half, cap number 56, first World Cup final for him. No nerves so far with that penalty. New Zealand 3, South Africa 6, and Andrew Mertens, All Blacks legend, on the touchline. Just the settler. New Zealand and Mwanga needed to get on the board.
Yes, it's always great to get a reward in points for the first foray into the opposition half. So I don't think it'll worry South Africa too much. Like I say, they've spent a very small percentage of the game on defence, so they just want to stay down this end where they're kicking off to now.
Where it's taken in by Rico Ioane, who's gone over there to field the kick-off, the outside centre, and now Aaron Smith will just take his time on his own 22. The World Cup final on 5 Live from the BBC. What a team we've got tonight. England's World Cup winning captain Martin Johnson. You'll hear more from Martin at half-time. We've got World Cup winners Bob Skinstad and Matt Dawson, and the great All Blacks fly half Andrew Mertens, who's poised on the touchline under the Stade de France drizzle. Penalty South Africa as New Zealand don't roll. And Bobby Skinstad, you've got a few big kickers in your side. Will one of them fancy lamping this over?
Well, I think so. I mean, it's such an attritional game, and you're seeing South Africa are playing to their strengths, New Zealand are playing to theirs. They're flicking the ball around the corners. What a lovely piece of skill from Geordie Barrett. This is a long kick for Handré Pollard early on in this match.
And it's time, Bob, isn't it? It's just another minute.
And
just slow it all down. Keep South Africa in the game.
And almost immediate riposte. If they get the 3-pointer, almost immediate to take it back to the 6-point lead. South Africa will be very, very focused on making sure they've got that lead.
Well, interesting there, Wayne Barnes kind of suggested he'd seen a replay and explained to Ardie Savea why he'd given the penalty, but maybe a touch hard on Ardie Savea, who was jackling and is one of the best in the world at doing that. But it gives an opportunity to South Africa and Pollard, who kicked a 50-metre goal to send England out and to put South Africa here. Has he got another one? Has that got the distance? Oh, what a kick! What a kicker! Andre Pollard, the big match player. And South Africa lead by 9-3 in the final.
Huge moments these. New Zealand now know it doesn't matter. You're in your own half, no penalties, therefore they can't just squeeze those moments to the referee to say, can I challenge for it? They can't risk it anymore. But Pollard's going to bang those over from 50-odd.
What a kick. New Zealand 3, South Africa 9. We've had the first quarter of the World Cup final. 20 minutes gone at the Stade de France. We'll get a weather update from Andrew Mertens, who, I don't know if he's under shelter on the sideline as Faf de Klerk hooks it to touch. So, come in, Mertz. Has the rain relented ever so slightly down there?
It has, unfortunately, because I was feeling a lot of nostalgia here. It's been a long time since I've been in Christchurch in the South Island, and it made me feel very much at home here. But the rain has stopped for the moment. It was drizzling pretty strong. Look, it wasn't heavy rain, but it was drizzling pretty consistently for a long period. But for the last 3 or 4 minutes, it's dropped off.
Yeah, the pitch just starting ever so slightly, Matt, to cut up. It's taken some heavy traffic over the past few weeks with 2 quarterfinals, a couple of semi-finals, a bronze medal match, now a final, as Taylor throws to Retallick. Nice drill from the All Blacks right in front of us, halfway line, centre field. Smith sends it out to Jordy Barrett, short to Ioane. Oh, good sweeping tackle from Peter Steff, but that was nice from New Zealand, who want to respond to that huge Pollard penalty. Mwanga goes wide, Jordan knocks on, perhaps forcing it ever so slightly in these conditions. South Africa will have the scrum, and all the talk pre-match about the energy levels of South Africa looks pretty good from here, Matt Dawson.
Well, compare it to New Zealand. Compare that energy level. It's patting each other on the backside, giving yourself high fives there in that South African green jersey. Yeah, for the first time in this tournament, I've seen New Zealand sort of wander over to a set piece and not quite as animated and as cheering each other on. It just feels that little bit looser from New Zealand, Bobby.
It definitely does. There's a couple of guys standing out. Peter Steff du Toit has been heroic. I mean, he's made about 6 or 7 tackles already. 5 of them have been worldies. I mean, he made the cover tackle. He was there on Rieko Ioane, and he was the guy trying to clear out. A couple of guys are standing up here tonight, and Rassie Erasmus has said it for the last 2 years. People are going to have to stand up in the situations where you need them the most.
Yeah, you're right, Bob. 7 tackles.
Can we keep that space, please?
By Peter Steff du Toit.
Both teams, keep the space. Okay, just to the left. Just to the left, please. Just to the left, please.
Well, as an example, Chris, we're having a quick look at the stats. Yes, he is 7, but so is Etzebeth, so is Malherbert, so is Kitshoff. Incredible output from the forward pack. It is going to take its toll. But when you've got the lead, when you're 9-3, all of a sudden the boys coming on are going to have a real spring in their step.
Yeah, and they've got a whole new forward pack on the bench. Admittedly, one of them is already on, Dion Fourie for Bongi Mbonambi. Scrum looks solid from both sides. So South Africa not getting the edge there yet, as referee Barnes tells the veteran Vermeulen to use it. Did de Klerk lose it? He did, but it went backwards. Crossfield kick goes out of play. Aronson couldn't quite get there, so will be New Zealand line-out, Bobby, on this near touchline.
Yeah, Faf de Klerk just not concentrating there. He lost the ball, but he lost it backwards. And Barnes talking live, saying, I saw that go backwards. So they basically given possession back to New Zealand. He said that it's got to go forwards for it to be a knock-on. I think Faf de Klerk was very lucky there.
Well, New Zealand have got to switch in here. They've done a lot of off-the-top line-outs. They're doing their moves. South Africa are waiting for it. They've got to change the picture.
And they win the line-out, but it's not hugely clean from the All Blacks. That's a good carry. Jordy Barrett, a focal point at 12. They drive on again, New Zealand just inside the Bok half. New Zealand 3, South Africa 9, 23 minutes gone at the Stade de France. Live on 5 Live Sport from the BBC, your World Cup station, match 48 of this epic tournament. South Africa looking to steal. New Zealand go through a few phases and they've got to go to the boot, a feather in the cap of the Bok defence. Mwanga goes high. Who fancies that? Nobody. Taylor is after it, as is Phillips. A great tackle, Cody Taylor. And he drives Phillips around, Andrew Mertens, right in front of you on the touchline.
Yes, well, a little bit of luck, and sometimes that's what these games come down to, isn't it? And as you say, a feather in the cap for the South African defence, but I don't think the All Blacks will think that going through multiple phases without getting a lot of ground is a waste of time, so long as they can analyse that in the second half. And we saw that against Ireland, for example, where they came back with solutions in the second half after having strung together phase after phase and analysing what that Irish defence was doing. So maybe that's a little bit too subjective, isn't it?
Oh, well played, Evan Etzebeth. He beats the All Blacks to the punch in the line-out, and South Africa have won the ball back. That was dangerous for the Springboks, that kind of set-piece position for New Zealand, but it's been picked off by South Africa, who have snuffed out that opportunity. And now Faf de Klerk, the experienced number 9, who's been at World Cup finals and won them before, he kicks down the throat of Mwanga, who finds Beauden Barrett. Broken field for the New Zealand fullback. They might come to the left, they do. Aaron Smith, the Groot, tackle just short of the 10-metre line, now onto the 10-metre line. Smith to the left, Mwanga, good hands to Mark Telea, but the Springboks are everywhere in defence, and Dion Fourie on that ball looking for the turnover. Has he got it? Yes, he has. Oh, South Africa are winning all these 50-50s at the moment, and Pollard kicks. He maybe had men to the left, but back goes Will Jordan, and he will kick down the line. 9-3 South Africa lead. Willemse in the backfield in his own 22, takes his time and puts a huge kick up towards the halfway line and maybe just a little bit beyond Matt Dawson.
Yeah, nice read from Will Jordan there. I mean, he had to be up in that back line for the counter-attack from South Africa, but just read that Pollard was stepping back off his left foot to go for potentially that long wiper. 50-22, Will Jordan read it beautifully well.
Novak Djokovic is in the crowd. Didn't know he was a rugby fan, but the World Cup final brings in all the big hitters. New Zealand 3, South Africa 9. With 15 minutes to go of a compelling first half. This time, New Zealand lose the line out. Oh, it's a penalty. South Africa have pulled down the arm in the line out. So a bit of respite for New Zealand, who can drive now up to and beyond the 22.
Martin Johnson will not mind that one bit. South Africa are getting physical. They're just trying to ruffle the feathers of the All Blacks, and it just puts just an ounce of doubt into Taylor's mind, into Retallick, yep, into Barrett. Are they getting it right?
Yeah, but you can't. Yeah, just one of those ones, both contesting for the ball, but Eben Etzebeth definitely catching Brodie Retallick's arm, and you can see it was well picked up by Wayne Barnes very quickly.
Yeah, that is some spot from the officials, and it gives New Zealand a line out inside the Bok 22. They go to the tail. That's a horrible line out, and exactly as Matt Dawson was saying, that doubt's in Taylor's mind whether it was illegal or not from Etzebeth. And then there's a tackle coming in. I think that's Sam Cane, but it's in Springbok possession, deep inside their own half, short of the 22 line. But the All Blacks line out had started to creak, and in these conditions that could be extremely concerning for New Zealand. So far so good for the world champion South Africa. Another good clearance from Faf de Klerk as Will Jordan takes it in and finds Beauden Barrett. They're committed to putting a bit of width on this ball, are the All Blacks, but Etzebeth's all over Telea. Then another big tackle coming in by captain Kolisi. Short of halfway there once more for Tyrell Lomax of the All Blacks, and I think Aaron Smith is going to say, if we don't get anywhere after a few phases, let's play a bit of territory, perhaps sensible in a World Cup final in the damp conditions here at the Stade de France. Pollard's under that high kick from Smith. He takes it well, does Andre Pollard, who's already kicked 3 penalties tonight as South Africa lead by 9-3. Oh, lost forward there by South Africa. Franco Mostard, I think it was, and that gives a scrum, Bobby Skinstad, to the All Blacks around about the 22 in South Africa's half.
Yeah, disappointing there from Mostard. He'll be so cross with himself. What a lovely tackle from Siya Kolisi. It was a It was a real desperation dive. Pollard did well, but good play from New Zealand. I think it was both Barrett and Will Jordan who caught him with the ball and all. And New Zealand were putting that pressure on South Africa for a long time there.
It is, yeah.
Okay, I'm about to show you foul play by New Zealand 7.
Oh, here we go.
This is what I saw earlier, Matt. Unfortunately, I think it's a head clash from Sam Cane onto Jesse Creel.
Yeah, Bobby, you had a wince at this straight away.
Number 7 is upright. His right arm makes contact with the head of 13. This will be your best angle for the contact.
Thanks very much.
Looking at a big screen here, you heard exactly what the officials
are
coming
to you in a second.
Looking for nervous moments for New Zealand, and New Zealand's captain is potentially not just a yellow. You've got to feel that's going to go on report immediately.
Yes, we do, yeah.
Don't see any lowering of height. Shoulders straight to the face.
It is, number 7.
Goodness me.
The only thing I think that can save him is whether it's passive enough not to be high danger. That's the only thing that can save him. If full speed, he didn't. Well, it's tiny margins.
The officials are in a bit of a quandary here because it's showpiece event, it's final time. You don't want people sent off unnecessarily. However, you then got to look at the globality of the game, and we are trying to get headshots out of the game. And there is no bigger example of what we cannot have within the game as a whole. It's a tough call for the officials, this.
Really tough call. Sam Cane, the All Blacks captain, yellow carded. And as Matt Dawson saying there, he is now in effect on report, as Shannon Frizzell was earlier. Frizzell survived with just a yellow from the clear out that ended Bongi and Benambi's night.
Yeah, I've got to say, I completely agree with Matt. The globality of the game, etc., and that all in hand. Nobody wants a red card in a World Cup final. Not even me as a South African supporter. We're going to have to look closely at that incident, though. There's not a lot of mitigation that's helping Sam Cane. It's an immediate yellow, and it's up to the men in the bunker now.
I think also that throughout the whole of this season so far, but throughout the whole of the World Cup, that's red. All day, that's red. No?
I don't think so. I could.
People watching are going to think that's a red card because of what the directive has been from the officials, surely.
Well, New Zealand have won the line. I will pick this up in a moment. 9-3. I think we've seen enough of those that have stayed on yellow because there has been a desire at times to find mitigation, Matt. And I just think in full speed they may being the big word, decide that there was just the level of it being passive, but it could easily go to red. We will wait and see. It's a really tight call as New Zealand kick forward. It's going to be dotted down for 22. No, it's going to go all the way out for a scrum back. So, New Zealand 3, South Africa 9, Sam Cane in the sin bin for a card that is being reviewed now. Andrew Mertens, what's your perspective down on the touchline of that Cane challenge?
Well, from ground level, it was obviously high. I think from a New Zealand perspective, this is going to sound very biased, but I think the mitigating factor was Creel suddenly changed direction, ran into Cane. Kane's a tackler who doesn't normally do standing tackles. He goes in and flies around the chest and below, and I think he got caught out a little bit by the change of direction quickly from Jesse Creel. Plus, Creel was dipping. He wasn't at full standing height. So from a New Zealand perspective, they are my mitigating factors, but it doesn't matter what I think. It's all that matters is what the video referee thinks.
We've heard from Andrew Mertens, Bob Skins, then Matt Dawson. Martin Johnson, what's your view?
I've got a photo here of a tackle exactly the same as that in the France-Namibia game.
No one may have knows what's good for him.
I've got a photo on my phone here of a tackle early in the tournament, the France-Namibia game, that no one even blinked at. That was equally hard. These things happen. I'm with Andrew. These things. I was a tall guy. Guys coming at you quickly. You go to. He's running into you as much as the other way around. It's high. Yellow card for me. That's it.
We will see as South Africa attack. Fafterkla. This is a nice move from the box inside the All Blacks half. Cheslin Kolbe's off his wing. He kicks for Arendse. Is that going to just dribble out of play? It does. So it will be a line out. And I think it's going to be, yes, an All Blacks throw into the line out. But with the line out under pressure, what an opportunity for South Africa.
Yeah, and brilliant to see them spreading the ball. I mean, first phase ball, it was a very deft move at the base of the scrum, and now they're 5 metres from New Zealand's line after lovely handling from the backs, and then a short little kick ahead. I thought Arendse was going to have the toe to get into it, but the ball just touched the line on the way through.
Right, big moment in the final. So many big moments in a game like this. New Zealand 3, South Africa 9, 8 minutes to the break. Kane in the sin bin. New Zealand's line out under pressure. Oh, well done, Scott Barrett. Well done, Cody Taylor. And New Zealand have the ball about 10 metres out after an industrious carry from Ardie Savea, who I imagine will have taken over the captaincy in the absence of Kane. And it's cleared down. And another bit of news I'm getting is that, well, we'll pick that up. It's gone quickly from Aaron. It's a drop goal. Damien Phillips says that got the distance. No, it's going to end up just short. And across comes Barrett and he clears. And that doesn't go out. I mean, it's just going at a breakneck speed despite the wet conditions. Phillips are out to Pollard, halfway line. Cheslin Kolbe off his wing. What's he doing there? He kicks. That's nicely think from Cheslin Kolbe. Problems on the far side for New Zealand. Peter Stepp is everywhere tonight. And he melts Jordan. 10 metres from their own line, New Zealand, who trail 9-3 in the World Cup final. Huge tackle coming in by Kolisi on Savea. This South Africa defence is absolutely inspired for the third weekend in a row. And they're looking to get a turnover penalty here. They're going to get it. Penalty South Africa as the boss the breakdown and will have a chance to kick for goal unless Faf de Klerk does something clever. I imagine Pollard will look to stick this over Bobby for 12-3, which in a World Cup final becomes a huge lead.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I'm just looking for the different signals here.
Oh, hold on. Here's Wayne Barnes on Kane. No, he's just saying decision about the points. We wait to see what happens with Kane, and they're going for the poles here, Pollard.
Yeah, I was just looking. There are about 3 different guys from the bench going on to give the decision, and the decision was go for the uprights. I think it's a smart move. Take the points when you can in a World Cup final.
We've got a decision on the yellow card. The yellow card is going to be upgraded to a red card.
Okay.
High degree of danger.
Just stop a second, please.
No clear and obvious mitigation.
Okay. Ardie. See, I don't need you. I think you're the captain now, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, the yellow card has been reviewed. It's been upgraded. To red? It's upgraded to red. It's a high degree of danger and there's no mitigation.
Sam Kane's been sent off in the World Cup final. As the South African fans to our right celebrate, he becomes the first man sent off in a Rugby World Cup final. The All Blacks captain red-carded for a dangerous tackle. We're seeing it again on replay. Amongst our 4 pundits, a bit of a split in opinion, but no doubt in the minds of the officials, red card Sam Kane, and New Zealand are going to have to try and win the World Cup with 14 men for 45 minutes plus, and they could be about to go 12-3 down. 6 minutes left of the first half. Whistles round the stand. Pollard for 12-3. Of course he bangs it through. And look at the Bok fans all round us. They know they've got a hand on the trophy here. New Zealand 3, South Africa 12. Bobby Skinstad first, then I'll bring in Andrew Mertens from the touchline.
Yeah, I've got to say off the bat, I'm with Martin and Mertz. I think that's really disappointing for the final. I don't want to have a contest like that at all, and I feel desperately sorry for Sam Kane. He's a good man.
Andrew?
Well, I think, yeah, look, I thought there were mitigating factors. I disagree. It's far from the worst decision that we've seen in this tournament, though, from the video referee. I think it's been atrocious, some of the decisions we've seen. So it's far from the worst. I think when you see it in slow motion, it's a red. But I think if you watch that in real speed, there's not a lot different Sam Kane could actually do to get himself lower. So I just worry about the future of the sport. Accidents and those sort of things happen. Yes, we've got to be safety conscious, security conscious of the players, health conscious, but it's a contact sport, and I'm not sure if that's the threshold for red card that we want to be having.
More on this at half-time with Martin Johnson. But as Matt Dawson was saying, rugby's also grappling with safety in its image. It was a high shot, it was to the head, and the officials had decided it's ticked all the boxes with no clear mitigation. And whether there have been 1 or 2 earlier in the tournament that could have been upgraded and haven't, the officials in no doubt that this one should have been upgraded to red. They're all in agreement. It's a red card for Sam Kane, and New Zealand are 12-3 down and trying to work their way back into the World Cup final with 14 men. As Ardie Savea tries to lead from the front, he now captains the All Blacks. New Zealand 3, South Africa 12. And just talk to us, Matt Dawson, as New Zealand attack about the psychology of New Zealand. They've got to... I mean, this is a mountain to climb now if the scores were level, let alone 9 points down.
Well, when they're going through the phase play, it's actually not quite as bad because they're just going through their drills. It's the set-piece play that potentially could kill off New Zealand. It's going to tire them out, of course it is, but you've got to dig deep. It's the final.
Surveyor to Scott Barrett, 22. They've got to respond, you feel, before half-time. 4 minutes left of this first half. New Zealand 3, South Africa 12, 4 Pollard penalties. Sam Cane sent off. Mark Tallaire's been doing that a lot. He's almost got through, and he finds Aaron Smith, who goes to within 10. Oh, there's a penalty to New Zealand as South Africa retreat. That might even be yellow card. Matt Dawson thinks maybe. I mean, Tallaire is on the ball so much. He's there again, and he's skipping past some tackles. What would a New Zealand try do for their confidence? Ardie Savea, Beauden Barrett goes wide. Oh, what a take! Rico Ioane for the corner. Great tackle. Curtly Aronza saves the day, but brilliant All Blacks rugby. A man down in wet conditions, offside against South Africa. And I wonder if Savea will get in Wayne Barnes' ear and talk about a potential yellow card. It's definitely a penalty. It doesn't look like any more.
Not for me. He's running back to his defensive line.
Running back to his defensive line, the reasoning why it wasn't a yellow.
Well, Ardie Savea's asked the question there, is there any more? For me, Eben Etzebeth was looking away. He wasn't looking at the ball.
Let's just wait to see.
It doesn't necessarily matter where Etzebeth is looking. He knows exactly what he is up to. And in this modern game, you hit the deck, you run backwards, you do whatever you possibly can to get out of the way. Etzebeth knew exactly what he was doing. That's a yellow card all day long, Wayne Barnes. You can't be conned by that.
Let's see if we can hear from Martin Johnson. Martin, your view on that? No, we'll just we need Martin faded up if we can. As Richie Mwanga prepares to take the kick.
Sorry. I don't know what's going on there.
Mwanga's going to go for goal. Then we'll bring in Martin Johnson. We'll just need him faded up in the studio as Mwanga prepares to take the kick. OK, we'll bring Martin Johnson in after this kick from Richie Mwanga, which will take the gap to 6. And he kicks it. So New Zealand 6, South Africa 12. Come in, Martin.
Well, we're saying it's an accident, but no mitigation. I totally agree with Matt. Running back, wherever you're looking, you've just stopped a try-scoring opportunity. If we're playing this game, that's a yellow card. That's a yellow card. If we're playing this game how we're playing this game with the rules, that's a yellow card. You know what you're doing running back in there.
So Eben Etzebeth potentially lucky with under 2 minutes to go of this first half. New Zealand 6, South Africa 12. New Zealand clear their lines, and it will be a chance for South Africa to throw into the line out round about the halfway.
Yeah, I mean, so far South Africa have been, as we would have expected, supremely smart today. We thought they were going to play this kicking game. We thought, it was going to be so tough for them. They've slowed the game down, and then that previous scrum where South Africa had a beautiful left to right attack because New Zealand put an extra man into the scrummage. So South Africa knew there was an extra. They're just playing proper smart at the moment.
Well, New Zealand have then picked off the line out, and another hit. Who else but Peter Steph de Toit? Unbelievable performance from the South African flanker here. I think his tackles are well into double digits, and we're not even at half time. 12-6 South Africa as Pollard wings it out to Deolandi, who kicks for Willemse nicely, scooted round in the backfield by Beauden Barrett. I mean, it's hard to keep up with all the incident that's happened this half, Matt Dawson.
Just 13 he's on at the moment.
13 tackles, Peter Steph. Yellow card for Frizzell. Sam Cane, red card. Eben Etzebeth just giving a penalty away that Martin Johnson was saying should have been a yellow card. It's 12-6. 2 penalties Mwanga against 4 by Pollard and Bob Skinstad. We're in the final minute of this first half, and the Boks have a decent line-out platform 40 metres out.
Yeah, they do, but New Zealand did so well and stole the ball, the attacking ball for South Africa. They've got almost carbon copy, but opposite side of the field now. Deon Fourie, there'll be pressure on him. Yeah, he's come in and he's played 37 minutes of a half that he probably didn't think he was even going to get near the field, and South Africa are battling on their own line-out ball.
And it's been overthrown by Fourie, but then lost forward by Tyrell Lomax. That is half-time. I'm not really sure where to start. New Zealand 6, South Africa 12. Pollard kicking the box into an early lead. He doubled it. Mwanga half the deficit. Pollard took it to 9-3, then 12-3, and around that time Sam Cane's yellow card was upgraded to a red card, Kane becoming the first man to be sent off in a Rugby World Cup final. So New Zealand will have to come back into this game with just 14 men, and then Richie Mwanga kicking New Zealand's second penalty near the end of the half. So New Zealand 6, South Africa 12. Sonia, I'll throw to you and then you can bounce around our brilliant array of guests after that captivating first half that has the box 12-6 up.
Well, finals can't they be tense, tight affairs, but this has been high octane, full of incident, accident and no little drama. And it's been quite the eye-opener watching a World Cup final sat alongside Martin Johnson, who is living and breathing every single second of that 40 minutes. You were quite an angry man in the middle of that.
Yeah, I don't like... Look, I know he's hitting, but these things happen. I'm with Andrew Mertens. These things happen. We've all done them and received them. And I don't like that. But then if you're going to do that, then Etzebeth, you don't run in there. You're going to give a penalty away. And he knows what he's doing. So if we're going to begin giving cards out willy-nilly, then that's a yellow card. The only good thing from it, I think, it's woken the All Blacks up. For half an hour, I think they've tried to play some quite cute rugby at times, and South Africa have just eaten them up. They've hit them, the pitch is wet and greasy. I think it's actually woken New Zealand up, and they've come out, it's annoyed them, and they're playing far more physically now, a little bit more directly, and actually had the best period of the first half has been the last 10 minutes for them. So they're now in the changing room, and they're going to say, right, this is a historical moment. We're down to 14, we're playing the biggest, most physical Springboks team that anyone can ever remember in modern history. If we can win this game, it'll be one of the biggest wins in New Zealand's long history. So hopefully they can come out and make a real game of this in the second half.
It's a story, obviously, that the captain of the All Blacks has been given a red card in a World Cup final. First time that's ever happened. You know the bigger picture in the world game right now, Martin, with concussion being such a major problem. Are the officials in a no-win situation there? Yeah, because they know that they've got a framework that they have to adhere to, and that appeared to the naked eye to be a red card.
Yeah, but if you slow it down, it looks terrible. I could take you. There's probably 50 moments in this tournament where guys have made contact with someone's head, and we've just played on. I've just said, I took a photo of one in the game because nothing happened. And I'm going, well, that's a high tackle, isn't it? When the protocol, Tom Curry went off for something very similar. But because there was no reaction and nothing happened, so consistency. The guy, you have to understand rugby. The guy's, he's there. It's just a rugby thing that's happened. It's an accident. Yeah, okay, yellow card, 10 minutes, that's fine for me. But a red card, I think, is incredibly harsh. I feel for Sam Cane. He's a captain of the All Blacks. He's sitting there and watching his country now play without him for 50 minutes.
Yeah, it will be decisive potentially if New Zealand can win this with 14 men in the second half. It would be quite some comeback. They currently trail South Africa, the holders of this Webb Ellis Trophy, remember, by 6 points to 12. We will have the second half from the Stade de France after the news here on 5 Live with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the war with Hamas will be long and difficult after the start of a ground operation. Speaking in Tel Aviv, he said his forces in Gaza are preventing what he called collateral damage and that they are the most moral army of the world.
This is the second phase of the war with very clear objectives. We want to dismantle Hamas and bring our hostages home. The decisions were made unanimously in the War Cabinet, in our State Security Cabinet.
He also said his first priority is to give Hamas a lethal blow, but that his second objective is to bring home the hostages. Tonight, Hamas has said it is ready for a prisoner swap with Israel immediately, saying it would free all hostages in return for the release of all Hamas prisoners in Israeli jails. Hadass Calderon's mother and niece were taken by Hamas and later found dead. Her son, daughter and ex-husband are still being held inside Gaza.
They must make an agreement immediately and stop the fire, stop the fire and make agreement. It's not shame to do that. It's their duty. Our children, life, it's in their hands. Not to forget our children, not to forget them. They must make a ceasefire and prison exchanging.
Earlier, leaflets were dropped over Gaza City warning residents the area is now a battlefield and they should head south. The United Nations has warned thousands more civilians could die if Israel continues its campaign in Gaza. Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called for a pause in fighting again so aid can get to people who need it. The UN's High Commissioner for Human Rights is Volker Turk.
Compounding the misery and suffering of civilians, Israeli strikes on telecommunications installations and subsequent internet shutdown have effectively left Gazans with no way of knowing what is happening across Gaza and cut them off from the outside world.
And several demonstrations have been held across the UK in support of Palestinians, with tens of thousands of people marching through central London demanding a ceasefire. More reaction and analysis of today's events coming up from 10:30 tonight with Nick Eardley here on 5 Live. And of course, you can get the latest anytime on the BBC News website and app.
On BBC iPlayer.
I am doing life. A few more years means nothing to me.
I'm pregnant. Judges go easy on pregnant women.
I fiddled my electricity, that's all. Don't think I should even be in here.
A new series of the BAFTA award-winning Time.
You tell anyone, and I mean anyone, about me, I will kill you.
Starring Jodie Whittaker, Tamara Lawrence and Bella Ramsey. Time. Starts Sunday on BBC iPlayer.
Rugby World Cup 2023 on 5 Live Sport and BBC Sounds with Sonia McLaughlin.
And welcome back to the Stade de France, where we will bring you second half commentary of the Rugby World Cup final very shortly, with the Springboks leading by 12 points to 6. Just a few ground staff out on the pitch sorting out the divots. I think there's quite a subdued atmosphere amongst the fans here, because that red card will have got those All Black fans talking amongst themselves as we see a shot of Dan Carter in the crowd, penny for his thoughts. Before that, we're going to bring you the latest football headlines. Newcastle United held to a 2-2 draw by Wolves in the Premier League's evening match. Pedro Neto had to be subbed for what appeared to be a hamstring injury. Elsewhere, Eddie Nketiah scored for his first Premier League hat-trick as Arsenal extended their unbeaten start to the season with a 5-0 win over Sheffield United at the Emirates. Bournemouth got their first win of the season, beating a struggling Burnley by 2-1. And Brentford made it back-to-back wins for the first time this season, beating Chelsea 2-0. QPR have sacked manager Gareth Ainsworth. That's after losing 2-1 to Leicester City today. That's 6 defeats on the bounce in the Championship. And Grimsby Town have also sacked their manager Paul Hurst after their 1-0 defeat away at Doncaster. And Jude Bellingham scored an incredible equaliser and a 92nd minute winner to help Real Madrid come from behind to beat Barcelona in his first El Clasico appearance. In other sports news, in Rugby League England, they've wrapped up their 3-test series against Tonga with a game to spare. They won the second test 14-4 at Huddersfield earlier. Elsewhere, there were wins for Australia and the Netherlands in the Cricket World Cup. And finally, boxing. It's been confirmed that Tyson Fury's heavyweight fight against Francis Ngannou in Saudi Arabia tonight will be a professional bout, coming under the jurisdiction of the British Boxing Board of Control. There's live text commentary on the BBC Sport website and app, with all the build-up from 9. And on Sports Extra from 10, there's qualifying from the Mexico Grand Prix, as we just see Jacques Nienaber with his Springbok baseball cap on inside the dressing room. Players, they're all hanging on his every word. Razzie Erasmus just sitting to his left, letting Jacques Nienaber take the lead there in the half-time chat. Chris Jones, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. Seeing Wayne Barnes issue a red card there to Sam Cane, it made me think of 2007 and the All Blacks going out of the World Cup. Wayne Barnes was the referee in that instance, wasn't he?
Yeah. In the quarter-final in Cardiff.
Yeah, that's right. And he's got a bit. I'm not saying he's got previous with the All Blacks, but there's a bit of a narrative just in my head.
Well, I don't know. Sonchi was ref in the quarter-final, New Zealand, Ireland. I wouldn't go down that route just because there's such different offences. You know, this one was a foul play incident. The one in Cardiff in 2007 was a forward pass, wasn't it? And
it was. I'm just thinking of how how the New Zealand fans got on his case after that match, didn't they? In quite a big way.
Look, it's just a really tight one. I mean, this has gone to the bunker. It's been looked at by all the officials. They've gone through the checklist, the head contact process, which some of our listeners might not know about, but they worked through a checklist really methodically. Has head contact occurred? Yes. Was there any foul play? Yes. What was the degree of danger? If it's high, it's a red card unless any mitigation. And mitigation, as we've seen all summer and through the World Cup, is a little bit subjective. We saw it with that Owen Farrell red that was given a red, then overturned, then re-overturned and reinstated as a red. We've seen it with plenty of instances this World Cup where people are disagreeing over whether something qualifies as mitigation or not. There will be an argument. There was a change in height, and it was ever so slightly more passive than other incidents we've seen this World Cup, but the officials have worked through the checklist. They think it was foul play, and the mitigation is not clear enough for them. So it is subjective, but working through the checklist, the officials will be confident they've got it right and are doing what they would feel they need to do, which is try and clamp down on any particularly dangerous shots to the head.
OK, we will see how the All Blacks respond to being a man down when they come out for the second half, trailing 6-12 to South Africa. Martin Johnson, while you're here, last night we looked over this pitch and watched England win a bronze medal at this Rugby World Cup. How do you reflect on their tournament?
Well, I think if you'd said at the start they're going to win the bronze medal, you'd have got some pretty good odds. So, yeah, they played well. I mean, they took this South African team who are now dominating a World Cup final right to the very edge. So they proved they can do it. They've just been very, very inconsistent and played some very poor games this year. So it's strange the complete the vast difference in the quality of the performance with pretty similar teams has been vast, and that's unusual. Teams are normally within a level of sort of their performance. To run the South Africans so close and yet have some of the performances they've had this year is very strange. So it'd be interesting to see if they can really put a finger on why that is. I think now it's fascinating. South Africa have dominated this early part of the game. The conditions suit them. They've kicked the ball very well. They've chased it very well. So everything New Zealand have done has looked difficult mainly through this game. Winning their own lineouts has been difficult. Winning ruck ball has been difficult. Catching South African kicks has been difficult, and come with a huge amount of pressure. And South Africa will be saying, well, we just keep doing that and squeezing them. New Zealand need to find that intensity now for 40 minutes. Be interested to see what Andrew Merton thinks about their kicking game. I think they've got to be a bit cuter with their kicking game. They're going to need to kick the ball as well as run it. Just try and find some space and find some pressure on South Africa. They did it in that last 10 minutes, and they got themselves, they've got a little bit of a grip in this game. They're 12-6, but the next points as ever are crucially important.
Dawes, what would have happened maybe if you'd lost your captain in the middle of a World Cup final in 2003? How do you think those South African New Zealand players will be responding to the fact that they're not only a man down, but he was the captain?
2003, I think we probably would have won by about 12 if he'd gone off. Incredibly difficult because listen, New Zealand have got loads of leaders, but Sam Cane's captain for a reason. He obviously makes some good decisions. He's a good player manager, right? Because he's the captain, and New Zealand have plenty of other options. But it is going to be lost. I have to caveat, it would have been a huge loss for England if Jono had gone off. Of course it would. We all would have been very upset, and we would be lost, and we wouldn't have any medals.
They've got 40 minutes now to play the games of their lives. That's all it is. You've got these big South African guys who think they're going to come and dominate you again. You've got 40 minutes, the game of your lives, boys. And at the end of it, you can look each other in the eye.
South Africa going into a huddle on the pitch. Both teams are out. They are very much in the boxy, aren't they, with them leading by 12 points to 6. And as Martin Johnson very aptly says, the All Blacks facing the biggest 40 minutes potentially in their history. Chris Jones.
Thanks, Sonia. 40 minutes left of the World Cup final, 40 minutes left of Rugby World Cup 2023. New Zealand 6, South Africa 12, a first half dominated by the box. And if New Zealand are to come back, they will have to do it without their captain Sam Cane, who was sent off for a high challenge that was reviewed, yellow card upgraded to red. No team has come back to win a Rugby World Cup final after trailing at half-time. A stat courtesy of the stats guru Russ Petty. So in the 10 men's Rugby World Cup final, including this one, the 9 before this one, no team has come from behind to win a World Cup final after trailing at half-time. Will New Zealand buck that trend as Aaron Smith clears, taken in by Damien Willemse, who's tackled well by 3 or 4 All Blacks. First minute of this second half, 5 Live Sport from the BBC. Remember, South Africa have had to go to their bench with Dion Fourie replacing Bongi and Mbonambi, who was injured. Crossfield from Pollard. Tester for Barrett, who loses it. See, Kolisi's onto it. He's got Jesse Kriel outside him. Still Kolisi. Oh, he had Kriel to the right. He finds Damien Diolande, who's a metre short. Is he held up? Yes, he is. Going to be a goal line dropout. What a chance for South Africa. Bobby Skinstad. Kriel would have walked at him, wouldn't he?
Yeah, it looked like it. It was a tremendous defence. I couldn't see because the All Black player had turned away from me. I'll have a look as soon as I can. That the play just gave Kolisi enough time to need to make a choice. Kolisi should have absolutely finished that, but there was very good defence.
Well, and there will be players across the world looking at that thinking, oh, you're a back row, give it to the gas. Give it to the wheels, let them skid into the corner. Don't worry about 2-on-1s. Give it to him early. Massive mistake.
Drop goal here, Matt. Damien Willemse from the goal line dropout. He's fluffed it. What a chance. 40 metres out, bang in front. Goal line dropout, straight to Willemse. Wait for a drop goal that would have extended the South Africans' lead. We said it was all happening in the first half. It's been all happening in the first 2 minutes of the second half. A kick contest lost by New Zealand. Kolisi on it quickly, and he just couldn't get it away. If he had, the World Cup final, dare I say it, could have been over. We'll bring in Andrew Mertens from the touchline very shortly, but here's Dwayne Vermeulen with a run up. The 37-year-old smashes into 2 or 3 All Blacks who are looking for the steal on the floor at the breakdown. Are they going to get it? No, referee Barnes happy. It's there in South Africa possession. Nice little post, Damien Willemse. He's got Frizzell all over him, but he gets it out to Kriel. They're attacking from inside their own half, maybe trying to make the most of the extra man advantage, just mixing their game up a little bit, South Africa, who lead, if you're just joining us, by 12 points to 6 in the World Cup final in the opening stages. Back from de Klerk to Pollard, who goes crossfield. Up there is Kolbe, so is Boden Barrett, who loses it, and they're winning all these little contests. And Peter Steff is caught by Will Jordan, and he just goes out of play. But Andrew Mertens on the touchline, right in front of you, it's happening. Twice South Africa getting on the end of Boden Barrett dropping a high ball.
Yes, they're making the most of it, and the track is still a little bit greasy. The rain has stopped. It hasn't restarted since it stopped towards the end of that first half. Why that might be is because the wind has picked up a little bit. It is in favour of the All Blacks now. It's not that crucial these days, and it's certainly not a strong wind, but it's a little bit behind the All Blacks. But South Africa's certainly riding their luck a little bit at the moment. The bounce of the ball's going their way.
Same height, please.
Matt Dawson.
I think the conditions are just drying out a touch, so the ability to play the game has just broadened, and South Africa fancy it. They really do. It reminds me of the game they played against France, actually. Crossfield kicks, put the pressure on, bounce to the ball, pick up the scraps, and then maybe the New Zealand defence has to just go out a bit wider to watch those kicks, and then you're going to find Kriel and Deolande thundering up the guts.
14 men, New Zealand 6, South Africa 12. As South Africa looking to go to work at the scrum. Faf de Klerk on the 10-metre line, New Zealand territory. Deolande, might be some space. Kolbe, dummy to kick, gives it out to Willemse. Willemse kicks for Arendse. Back goes Boden Barrett. Arendse scored, has he? Over on the far touchline. They'll check this. It may have gone forward, it may have gone out. but Arendse from the kick from Willemse. Here we go on the replay. Oh, he's caught it, then he's dropped it. He's dropped it. What a chance for South Africa. So close, Bobby Skinstad, and it will be a line out to the All Blacks.
No, that's fingertip stuff. I think it'll be their choice. It could be a line out before, which they'd probably rather have than a scrum on their 5-yard line. All Blacks will take a defensive line out here. Cody Taylor steps up.
Arendse, he did all the hard work, didn't he?
Who's your receiver?
Skinned Barrett on the outside, got a lucky bounce back in field. He scooped it up, dropped it on the way down to finish it off. Goodness me.
Pressure on this line out. They go over the top. It's taken by Sefer, but he's rocked back by 2 or 3 Springboks. The defensive effort from South Africa, superhuman when you consider where they've gone this World Cup so far. They're so quick on Mwanga as well, who can only hack a clearance to 20-odd metres, maybe a bit less out. And South Africa, Bob Skinstad, will be able to go to their line and their maul all being well.
Yeah, this was I mean, the South African bench are coming out and starting to warm up, and the stadium appreciated that. Wow, it's incredible. We're just seeing the replays of Kurtley Arendse. That was incredible pace around the outside.
Well, what's also been alerted is that Bongi and Banambi is now running around, and Wayne Barnes in the first half revealed that he was marked down as tactical, not injury, which means if there is an injury to Dion Fourie, Bongi and Banambi can come back on. So we will see whether anything transpires on that front. What are they checking here, Matt Dawson? More head contact. Is this Siya Kolisi?
The first question is whether there's foul play.
Yeah, your best angle will be coming first now.
Thank you.
More foul play potentially here. The ball over the top.
Your next angle will be better. Here we go.
Okay, so we've got 6-3 upright, so he is at fault, so there is foul play.
Yep.
Okay, and he's run from the distance and he's head-on-head contact. So minimum yellow card for Ashoka's net.
Yes, agreed.
Siya Kolisi's now getting a yellow card, and this potentially could be upgraded unless there's any mitigation. Head-on-head contact. Kolisi on Sever, I think it was. So for the next 10 minutes at least, it's 14 on 14.
Well, there potentially is some mitigation because Vermeulen is involved in the tackle as well. Potentially.
But Siya Kolisi's head hits the ball first, you can see that. So it hits the ball and goes up to head. I mean, it's a potential red, you never know.
It's nowhere, as much as Martin Johnson is turning around and trying to make me say that it's definitely a red card, I think there is more to talk about that collision.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not saying it's not possible, Mr. Johnson. I'm just saying it's more
well, it's an
probable.
immediate yellow. It's an immediate yellow, so it is very possible, of course. I mean, we'll see what comes back from the bunker.
And as we saw, mitigation is subjective. Is it big enough mitigation? You know, you could argue there was mitigation for the one in the first half. Sam Cane sent off, but not significant enough according to the officials. It's whether they decree that it's significant enough mitigation with him being the second tackler, the slight change in height, and whether it was direct to the head or whether it was more after a body or ball collision first. So Siya Kolisi in the bin, and we'll wait to see whether that's upgraded. So for now it's 14 on 14 in this hectic World Cup final. Forward comes Arendse, who almost scored a moment ago. New Zealand are all over that. They've turned it over. Smith out to Sever, over to the far side. Jordy Barrett. Mwanga drops it. How many times do you see that in a big game? A great player who never drops a thing, coughing it up, and South Africa have it back as Mwanga was almost away down the left touchline. Now, Matt Dawson, it's on Springbok possession, and we'll go back for the knock-on from Richie Mwanga.
Beautiful hands yet again. These sides, given the conditions, given their 7th game of this tournament, the rugby that they're playing is just sometimes breathtaking. There's just tiny little gaps and hands and feet and movement, delayed passes. Mwanga got on the outside of Faf de Klerk there. It was 2-on-1. The New Zealand coaching bench are stomping and banging their fists because they know they're not going to get many opportunities today, and that was one.
Andrew Merton's on the touchline.
Yeah, well, I risk showing again my true colours, don't I? Talking about, I don't think either of those cards should be red, Sam Cane or Kolisi. But I think if Kane's was red, consistency says that Kolisi's got to be had plenty of time to come in and adjust where he was hitting. And so, like I say, I don't want to sound too biased though, but certainly it's given the All Blacks a bit of a spring in their step, and getting down this end of the ground is a big thrill, even though South Africa's got the put in.
Yeah, you feel, don't you guys, that New Zealand have to try and strike 14 on 14 because South Africa, lest we forget, still lead by 12-6. But Kolisi's in the sin bin. Sam Cane sent off. Both captains not on the pitch at the moment as South Africa resource the ball from the scrum. Faf de Klerk just flips it out to Dion Fourie, who sets it up just short of the 10-metre line. When will South Africa go to their forward-laden bench? Half an hour just over left in the World Cup final. New Zealand 6, South Africa 12. They're peppering the Barretts, this time Geordie, who may have come up trumps. He's played a lot at fullback. Right, New Zealand possession. Aaron Smith, Scott Barrett, Bowden Barrett, Richie Mwanga down the line. Not quite as fluent as normal, but Will Jordan, who's on 8 World Cup tries. No man scored 9 in a World Cup. Mwanga plays a bit of territory, well positioned. Damian Willemse, who then loses it, but backwards. Willemse hooks it to touch, and it will be a line out to New Zealand, just short of the halfway line. Mwanga shapes to go quickly, but we'll leave it, and the line out will be absolutely slap bang on halfway. New Zealand 6, South Africa 12, 49 minutes gone.
Well, it's just amazing in these big pressure games. You see the little mistakes, you see the good pieces of play, you see the bad pieces of play, you see the unintentional pieces of play. Extraordinary match of such high tension.
Halfway line out to the All Blacks. Their line out has been under serious pressure from South Africa. Etzebeth was up, it's loose, it's down there for Ardie Savea, who gets it from Aaron Smith, just short of halfway, but certainly not that kind of really clean set-piece platform as Smith kicks towards Kolbe, who takes those spins away beautifully. Cheslin Kolbe, a try scorer 4 years ago. He's then tackled by Taylor. New Zealand looking to steal, but South Africa, Matt Dawson playing with a bit more enterprise in this second half, but after, as I say that, Faf de Klerk slows it down and will go to the boots.
Well, there are opportunities, and Kolbe just got his head down there, put his hands together and just went for it. There are chances, and South Africa want to take it on, but then, if the door is closed, they're happy to go onto an aerial game. They're playing very smart.
Just short of the halfway line, New Zealand's possession. Geordie Barrett down the blind. Will Jordan, great ball to Cody Taylor, who steps inside Deolande. Still Cody Taylor, and he did well to keep hold of the ball so New Zealand can recycle. Geordie Barrett crashes into Fourie. Penalty advantage New Zealand. It's going to be a penalty as South Africa tackle without the ball. And now the All Blacks have a chance to cut the gap to 3. Or potentially go for the corner, but in a World Cup final, we'll get the view of Matt Dawson, Bob Skinsad and Andrew Mertens about what New Zealand should do. You feel, Matt, it's got to be Mwanga for the post, don't you?
I mean, for me, it would be going for the post, but it's all a momentum call. It's how they feel on the pitch. But in these conditions, 3 points, no, look at that, go into the corner, Chris. What do you think, Bobby? Would have gone with that?
Well, I think with Kolisi still off right now, they'll feel that they've got the advantage and they can get close with a line-out drive.
Ardie Savea very, very emphatic about going for the line there, really trying to bring some excitement and G the team up.
Well, here come some of these Bok forwards. Oxen Che is on for Stephen Kitsoff, and RJ Snyman, it looks like, has come on for Franco Mostert. So Snyman, a try scorer last week against England, and Che, a scrummaging machine who won key penalties to help the Boks get to this point and stay world champions. But they've kicked to within 5, New Zealand. A pivotal moment in this World Cup final. 14 on 14. As it's won by New Zealand, who peel away. Ardie Savea, still Savea, to within 3 metres or so. Savea goes to the left, Smith goes to the left, Frizzell. Still there, Aaron Smith. They're only a couple of metres out. He's in. They switch play. Mwanga, Geordie Barrett. Will Jordan loses it. And Etzebeth comes away with the ball. He then loses it. Scrappy stuff, but the first knock-on was by New Zealand, and South Africa will have the scrum.
I'm keeping my... I don't know where to look. You want to look at the action, of course you do, but I also have got my eyes glued onto Siya Kolisi and the people that are scurrying around and giving him high fives. I'm trying to work out whether it's a high five to say you're going back on, do not worry. Yeah, he doesn't look disappointed, Siya Kolisi, at the moment. New Zealand, what an opportunity, Bob. You can't miss those in these. Why are they switching short sides?
You have to take the big opportunities. I think New Zealand made a massive call to go to the corner. You want to be clinical. You want to finish that one. South Africa will think that they've got a reprieve there. They've got away with one because they don't have their captain. They don't have, that numerical advantage. He might stay off. He might stay off for the rest of the 80 minutes. We don't know. But South Africa will feel that they got away with that one.
It's staying as a yellow card then. Siya Kolisi will return in 3.5 minutes. So the officials have judged there was mitigation involved in Kolisi's, but not in Kane's. So Sam Kane sent off, Siya Kolisi just the yellow card, and the Springbok captain will be back in just under 4 minutes. Is that Roger Federer who's in the crowd as well? So Federer and Djokovic.
With his Springbok scarf on.
Rooting for the box, Roger Federer. I didn't see who Djokovic was behind. But
yeah, Roger Federer's got I think he might have a South African mum or lineage that's been from South Africa. He's done some amazing charitable work in South Africa as well. So proud to see him in the South African colours.
Great stuff. New Zealand 6, South Africa 12. Scrum is a mess. And Dwayne Vermeulen has to rescue it at the back for South Africa. 52 minutes gone. 5 Live Sport from the BBC. New Zealand 6, South Africa 12. The Rugby World Cup final. Pollard clears his lines. What a boot he's got on in Pollard. And he's made a good 30-odd metres and just about snuffs out that New Zealand pressure, even though the All Blacks will throw into the line out now.
How good was Vermeulen off the base of the scrum there, Bobby?
Well, it was him against 3 or 4. Unbelievable. He really created... He just turned the pressure tap off because the South African scrum had creaked a little bit. New Zealand were attacking.
Well, this is the sustained period of play in the South Africa half, but then they've lost it at the line out, New Zealand. Referee Barnes said it went backwards. Geordie Barrett drives it on. Yeah, looked a little bit knock-on-y, didn't it? As Aaron Smith goes to the left to Ardie Savea, the Springbok defence solid as the All Black stand-in captain tries to lead from the front. Aaron Smith out to Brodie Retallick. Oxencha's on that ball trying to steal now, but back it comes. Richie Mwanga pops it up to Geordie Barrett's on a mazy run. He's then folded by Pieter-Steph du Toit, who's up to 18 tackles now. Ardie Savea, Bowden Barrett, they go deep to Mwanga, who gets past Arendse, and he's trying to go past the Eilande. He's still going, Richie Mwanga. What a run! Inside to Aaron Smith, and New Zealand score! Magnificent from the All Blacks. The first ever time South Africa have conceded a try in a World Cup final, and it's the magic of the halfbacks. Mwanga on the outside, inside to the great scrum half Aaron Smith, and New Zealand are right back in the World Cup final.
Well, for South Africa not to concede a try in their finals, it had to be special, and my goodness me, what an individual bit of brilliance from Mwanga. So much to do from halfway, skipping off his right foot. Brilliant step and acceleration round the outside, and to somehow hook a left-handed pass in the tackle to a brilliant supporting line from Aaron Smith. Simply off your feet stuff.
Absolutely outstanding, and Dion Fourie acting in a senior player role is...
Well, they're checking something again, the officials.
There was a knock-on at the line-out, which you could see.
I mean, to be fair to your best angle, Barnsley.
Bob Skinstad, he was straight away on it.
8.
He was straight away onto whether it was a knock-on, and it was. Brilliant spot, Bob.
We get all the angles though to see if he plays him in the air as well. So.
Yep. The arm of number 4, South Africa plays the arm beforehand.
Let me just explain this to you. Yeah. So, can you just give us a second so we can talk, and then I'll come and find you. No, 1 second. Yeah. So what we've got him play the man in the air, but then Ardie's knocked the ball forward. So it will be a penalty for the first offence, but it can't be a try because he's knocked the ball forward. Do we agree?
Agreed.
Okay. Let me just explain.
Here we go, Wayne Barnes.
I agree with you that he's played the man in the air. Okay, so that's a first offence. Yep. But then it's hit your hand and gone forward, so it's a knock-on. So it's no try, but it will be your penalty back on the line out, okay? So no try, but he's played the man in the air.
The mark is 12 metres inside the half.
Well, that's the reaction from the South African fans cheering, the boos and whistles of the neutrals. New Zealand fans aghast. Let's just talk through what's happened there. The line out where straight away Bob Skinstad said that looks a knock-on. It was a knock-on, but the first offence was the South African taking the New Zealand arm in the air. So no try because of the knock-on, but the first offence was a penalty against South Africa. So the score stays New Zealand 6, South Africa 12, and Geordie Barrett bangs it to about 10 metres from the line.
And I know there's, of course, momentum makes a huge difference here going into the corner, but I can't help but think 3, 6, twice now it's happened, could be tied, you know, small margins. New Zealand's second opportunity in the last 5 minutes with 14 on 14. New Zealand have to score points on this occasion.
See, Kolisi
you'll see
is
guys
primed
with Sam
to come
Whitelock's
back
on.
Mertz.
Sorry, Chris. Sam Whitelock, you can see in the line out there, he's come on for Shannon Frizzell in that interim while the try was being reviewed.
Yeah, good spot. A man playing in his third World Cup final, Sam Whitelock. Here goes Ardie Savea. He peels away, 6 metres out or so. He's still going. You can't put him down, Ardie Savea. He's 4 metres out now. As New Zealand, have they lost it? Yes, it's gone forward. And South Africa again have survived. So still no points for New Zealand in this second half. Despite all this pressure, it stays New Zealand 6, South Africa 12.
A little mention there for Faf. Come on, give the scrum half Union just a mention there on the big fella.
I mean, unbelievable play by Faf at the back of that line out there. Look at Eben Etzebeth. He's carrying Ardie Savea. I mean, that contest just ripped away. There's Faf at the base.
Hold on, fellas. Let me and my team do our work. So it's on with me and then it's stripped. Thank you.
I mean, there is real pressure on the officials now, isn't there?
Just had my comms from my team. He's on his knee and then it's stripped. I thought it was a lost forward. It's a penalty against.
Right, okay. So the TMO and the ARs, the assistant referees, have come in to say that the ball wasn't locked forward. It was illegally taken back by South Africa. They were knee on the floor, so technically off their feet. So it's a penalty to New Zealand. I mean, there is so much going on here in terms of the officials getting involved, the TMO, the assistant referees. It really needs a cool, calm head in the middle. Wayne Barnes is the man for that. Penalty New Zealand. It's kicked into the corner, and now New Zealand have a 5 metre line out.
Wayne Barnes needs a special mention here because he is having an absolute blinder. There is so much going on. So much going on, and he's not to blame for the red or the yellow because it's come from, you know, that's the review. It's not his job. He has been spot on.
Taken by Retallick at the front, but as South Africa competed, there might be a hole for New Zealand to drive into. They're urged on by the pockets of all black supporters who have traversed the globe to get to Saint-Denis, north of Paris. They trail by 6, but a converted try would put New Zealand in the lead for the first time tonight. Aaron Smith has had one try chalked off. He's digging for another. Penalty advantage to New Zealand as the maul goes down. Smith digs for it, and he whizzes it out to Geordie Barrett. Short ball, Rieko Ioane, just short. 3 or 4 metres out. Not many men to the left, so they'll come to the right. Aaron Smith, out to Brodie Retallick. South Africa still yet to concede a try in a World Cup final. As they drive on again, the All Blacks forwards. 12-6 to South Africa. Almost an hour gone at the Stade de France. No men right now for New Zealand, so they'll have to go left. Aaron Smith, Richie Mwanga, Geordie Barrett, wide pass, Mark Telea, steps inside, gets past one, gets past another, up, he's lost it forward, has he? Beauden Barrett's gone over, and Beauden Barrett scored this time, and I wonder if that will be checked. But referee Wayne Barnes looks happy that Beauden Barrett scored the first try of this World Cup final. I think they will just check the ball from Telea to Barrett. But so far so good according to the officials, and New Zealand finally have got over.
Just nobody can put Telea down. Every time he gets the ball, he steps, he beats one, he beats two, he fends off, he tries to pop the ball back to Barrett. I think it's right on the 5 metre line, so it looks like it goes backwards. I mean, you're going to get a really good view from the overhead. He gets tackled just short. Does it go forward? My goodness me, that is so close in a final. You've got to look at that again.
You've got to.
Just to be clear, it doesn't matter if it bounces forward. It doesn't matter if it bounces forward. It's only whether it's come out the hands forward. And I think Wayne Barnes was so well positioned, he's happy. And we haven't had any comms coming in, so Mwanga is lining this up. Bob Skinstad is taking a moment here. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. Bobby's view shortly. Andrew Mertens will come in from the touchline. But this kick, if Mwanga can nail it, puts the All Blacks in the lead. Here's Richie Mwanga. He stabbed it wide. Hour gone. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. Bobby Skinstad.
Well, it was a fantastic pass from Geordie Barrett to get that width right there. Look, I think his hands are facing backwards. I think that pass is okay. I mean, disappointed as I am to say it, that, you know, they haven't been called back from it, but I literally think the momentum's gone with that ball and maybe drifted forward in the sky, but it certainly hasn't been a gifted forward pass.
Mertz, I bet you're happy on the touchline?
Yeah, look, I was the opposite when I first saw it live, but seeing that last replay, that angle, I mean, to me, a bobble is forward, but that did look like he projected it backwards, so... again, I sound biased, don't I?
It is. I mean, the margins are so fine, whether we're talking mitigation, red card, yellow cards, forward passes, knock-ons in the line-out, arms in the air, the margins are minuscule, as is the gap on the scoreboard. Hour gone, exactly in Paris. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. Matt Dawson.
Well, we were always talking about it. It was going to go down to the wire. We're not quite at the wire yet with 20 minutes to go, but both teams in it. You'd never know New Zealand are at 14 men the way they're playing at the moment, but you can't help that it will take its toll.
Oh, Brodie Retallick's got up there, then Aaron Smith has kicked it out on the full, and Dion Fourie is being put under pressure at this line-out, Bobby Skinstad. The background to Fourie, a hooker at first in his career, then moved to the back row, but probably hasn't got the kind of experience of this kind of occasion and throwing it at the line out.
Yeah, certainly not. And we've got, almost all of the subs are on now, so there's big pressure from New Zealand on South Africa.
Oh, he's trying to throw to the tail, and New Zealand have picked it off easily. Barrett now, Geordie Barrett. Rieko Ioane, did he lose that? Yes, he did. And just both teams, their slickness and accuracy is just letting them down. I know it's wet out there, but if you think of New Zealand in the quarterfinal, just didn't make a handling error. A few more are creeping in tonight as Geordie Barrett gave it to Rieko Ioane, and he did knock it on, didn't he?
New Zealand have got South Africa's card here in the line out. They've been very, very astute in putting their jumpers up. 2 jumpers up, one marking at the front, not giving that front jumper an easy ball, and then one just in sort of mid-range of that line out. So that it's saying to Freer, go on, throw that long one. How much practice have you been doing over the last few months? Not very much. So really good pressure application.
Their confidence, Dorse, has come up massively, hasn't it, since Sam Whitelock got up, and he's a very thorough researcher of the line-out. As you say, they had Retallick at the front. It was almost like Scott Barrett was calling Fourie to throw it to him, and he did.
Yeah, good spot, Andrew Mertens. Sam Whitelock has come on, they've started to unpick the line out, but Oxen Chase come on, and the scrum went forward from South Africa, but the ball bounced back on New Zealand's side, and it's there for Rieko Ioane, who sets it up just short of the 22. Remember, New Zealand are a man down. Sam Cane sent off in the first half. So they're going to have to do this with 14 men, New Zealand, but they've had much the better of this second half. Is this where the box will start to tire? And is this where the likes of Erasmus and Nienaber will go to the Springbok bench? Jean Klein is on in the second row, the former Ireland international, as Ethan de Groot drives just short of the 22 for New Zealand. They don't have too much shape or pattern here, but Mark Tellaire's come off his wing, and he is doing so much work here, the left winger. Scott Barrett from Aaron Smith's little pop, just short of the 22. It's slow and methodical. Half a dozen phases for New Zealand. Can they get any kind of go forward? Aaron Smith taking his time. Brodie Retallick now, tackled by a posse of Springboks, including Kwaka Smith, as the bench is gradually emptying from South Africa.
You think New Zealand just positioning here? Just positioning. I know it's not very New Zealand-like to do that drop goal.
We've got 2 men on our team tonight who know all about World Cup final drop goals. Aaron Smith, he wanted maybe a man in the pocket there as de Groot drives. Great tackle by Oxenche that upended de Groot. They've gone through 10 phases without really going anywhere. Up against a green wall which has an extra man in it. Aaron Smith Richie Mwanga, wide pass off his left to Will Jordan, one-on-one with Kolbe. Oh my, he's just tackled him and upended him, and now Smith's got it back. Incredible defence from Cheslin Kolbe, and Quacker Smith there as well. Oxenchae didn't want that one, and Taylor's all over him on his own 22, but he did really well, Oxenchae. Like he'd been passed the ball he wasn't expecting. He juggled it over his head, and it is there with South Africa. We're going to say the score a lot over the next 16 minutes. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. Now Faf may have caught some of his forwards offside. What a take was that, Geordie Barrett. That's incredible from the inside centre. Then it's been lost, but the first man was there. Quacker Smith's turned it over as South Africa gets some change from the breakdown, and Damian Willemse puts a huge kick downfield that's going to end up 10 metres short of the New Zealand line. To Leia, to Beauden Barrett, the try scorer. Barrett almost up to the 22, then he sends a huge kick. Excellent kick, Beauden Barrett. Kolbe on his own 22 as the ball stays in play. 15 minutes left in the stand. Here goes Kolbe, what a run! And he barrels past Aaron Smith and into the New Zealand half. Faf de Klerk looked right and he went left to Dion Fourie, the veteran who's on at hooker. And he goes about 8 or 9 metres past the 10-metre line. Willemse just kicks it almost sideways, but it's territory for South Africa, who Andrew Mertens, right in front of you, will try and put pressure now on this New Zealand line-out.
Yes, and the difference that Quacker Smith has made, it was Quacker Smith who under the tackle of, or above the tackle of Kolbe on Will Jordan, just plucked the ball out of his hands like he was picking a grape, and then he made that next steal as well in the ruck. So 2 crucial turnovers, and all that effort from the All Blacks amounting to nothing as they see themselves back down their own end.
It's just fascinating to see that at 65 minutes there is not a chance that any of us calling this game would be saying that New Zealand look more tired than South Africa, and somehow they do. Somehow when New Zealand are going through the phases, they're looking a bit disoriented. They look left, they look right, they don't look like they're making any inroads into a formidable South African defensive wall. Is that because playing with a man down takes its toll mentally as much as physically? Well, it has to. I mean, of course it has to. Over time, Chris, you're right. And New Zealand are going to think that they can go through their methodology and go through all those drills that they've practiced, but the brain starts doing some really weird stuff. And when you're 14 men down, you've got that extra quarter of a man at every ruck, at every maul, at every breakdown, at every pass, every supporting line. You're not quite there, and it's taking its toll. Replacement for New Zealand at hooker, Samisoni Takeaho is on for Cody Taylor. No Dane Coles in the 23, remember. Cheslin Kolbe is getting some treatment as we see a replay of that brilliant tackle and then the strip by Quacker Smith. Kolbe is going to continue, but they do have, don't they, Bob, Willie LaRue, so they would be able to, not quite a like for like, but LaRue could come into the back three comfortably enough, even though they are so light when it comes to backs on the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Willie LaRue will be most comfortable at either wing or fullback. He has played 10. He is the distributor of the ball. Kolbe looks really uncomfortable though. Well, Willemse could go to wing, couldn't he? Or Jesse Creel could go to wing. They've got options. But the 7-1 bench means that it's all forwards really who have come on so far. What pressure now on this line out for New Zealand, who trailed by a point. They've done well to throw to Retallick. Aaron Smith back to Mwanga, and Mwanga says, let's just get it away from here. Kolbe, who was down injured for a good couple of minutes, he doesn't bother running, he gives it to Willemse. So we're going to see a lot of this in the final 14 minutes, but Geordie Barrett's been brilliant in the air, and Beauden Barrett now kicks. Talea looks tired, he's done so much work, but that's a quality kick from Beauden Barrett, and now the player's gone from 22 to 22, and pressure now goes on Dion Fourie. Beautiful rugby from just a couple of players. Mwanga, Barrett, 2 kicks, so much territory. Pressure back onto South Africa, who are not looking forward to this line out. They're really not. You'd like to think that South Africa have got to mix something up. They've got to shorten the line out, potentially. Well, that's the last we're going to see on the international stage of a modern day great. Aaron Smith, 125 caps and out. He's off to Japan at the age of 34. Finlay Christie is on. What a moment for Finlay Christie, the Scottish-born 28-year-old, who now has 14 minutes of a World Cup final as Peter Steff
claims it in the line-out, not content with his 23 tackles. He's taking line-out ball as well. Damien Diolande sets it up. South Africa won a quarter-final by a point, a semi-final by a point. They lead the World Cup final. You guessed it, by a point. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12, 14 minutes left. And for Matt Dawson and Bob Skinstad, especially Bob, we might have some deja vu from last Saturday with every single kick and every single moment, a huge contest and an incredibly tight finish. South Africa managed to win it back. Willie le Roux is on now, and he finds Creel, and Creel finds Kolbe, who's streaking down the touchline, and he kicks on though. The play had stopped. Willie le Roux gathers and has almost scored, and some of the Springbok fans don't know that Matt Dawson, Wayne Barnes and all the forwards are on the other side of the pitch waiting for a set piece. What was going through Willie le Roux and Cheslin Kolbe's mind?
Gone clearly forward, just had it
but the ball has gone forward, which means it is a scrum to South Africa, and all of that excitement is for nothing.
Guys, I was trying to get a word
to be wasting energy, Mertz, is there?
I was trying to get a word in to tell you that Willie le Roux was on. The one solitary back reserve for the Boks is on for Willemse. At the same time, we saw that Handré Pollard has got some blood coming out, so that wouldn't be a great result for them either if he's got to go off. But Willie le Roux probably considered he might be kept till the very end, and so he's probably just so excited to be on, he called for the ball.
Bobby, how are your nerves?
Oh, edge of the seat stuff here. I mean, to be honest, it's one of those games where there's something new around each little corner. You don't know what to expect next. I wouldn't be surprised if New Zealand had an 80-metre breakaway try, or South Africa sort of fumbled their way to a drop goal, or a drop goal from Trevor and Yokani, something to absolutely just take it to the next level. But fantastic contest.
Well, there's going to be some gaps, there's no question about that. There is still 13 minutes to go. Yeah, there are going to be some gaps, and when one team decides to have a go, at the moment it's going to be New Zealand. That's where I think there's still a try in this game, boys. I really do.
Well, scrum South Africa far side. They're looking for a penalty. Are they going to get it? They desperately want it. But referee Barnes tells the clerk to use it. Out to Diolande. They're running the ball here, South Africa. Willie le Roux kicks. Oh, he had a 50-22 almost on there, but it dribbles out outside the 22. And South Africa can do that all day, Matt Dawson. They've got a point advantage.
Yeah, they'll be happy just to nudge it. I think, actually, Willie le Roux probably overcooked that. I think he was just looking to leave that in the 5-metre channel and just say to the All Blacks, oh, go on then, what are you going to do from there?
Kick it out, with a bit of pressure from Kolbe et al.
Another pressure line out here for Taukei'aho. The replacement lock finds Retallick. Christie then out to Ardie Savea. Oh, if he leads New Zealand to victory here, there is no doubt who's going to be World Player of the Year tomorrow night. Penalty against South Africa. The ball spat out, and referee Barnes said that the Boks didn't release. Right, penalty to New Zealand. It's on their own 22, but they will go deep as they can up to the halfway line, and it will be a line out to the New Zealand All Blacks. Absolutely slap bang on halfway. Matt Dawson.
And it's worked so far for New Zealand off the top ball. They haven't fancied these driving lineouts. They're probably not going to fancy it now with 14 men. They're going to say to the New Zealand backline that has lit this tournament up, an unbelievable try that was disallowed. They're going to lick their lips. They fancy their chances.
And what is it with this World Cup and the knockout stages? All those quarterfinals right up until the end were one-score games. A couple of them went down to a single point in the semi-final this time last Saturday, and a single point so far in the World Cup final. And Taukei'aho has taken it quite conservative at the line-out, but he's winning all that line-out ball. This time it was Sam Whitelock. It is the halfway line, and 14 men New Zealand peel round the corner. Nepo Laulala's on at tight head. They don't, as we've said a couple of times, have too much attacking shape with a man down, so Christie will kick. He's got to get his box kicking spot on. This one should be taken by Kolbe. It is taken by Kolbe. Will Jordan is all over him. 22 in South Africa's territory, but South Africa have an extra man and one extra point. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12, and we are seconds away from the final 10 minutes of the World Cup final as Ardie Savea desperately looks for a penalty turnover after Oxenche had a trundle. But he hasn't been able to enforce it. South Africa really taking their time. 14 of this 23 were in Yokohama 4 years ago as the Boks won the pot, and Faf de Klerk sends up a kick. Who wants this? Nobody. It's all over the place. I think it's in the possession of New Zealand eventually, but there were 2 knock-ons. The first was by New Zealand, and South Africa, Bob Skinstad, are starting to celebrate every little minor win. They have the scrum just short of the halfway line.
Yeah, they celebrated that, and I think we're seeing some more changes come on for the All Black. What a shift from Brodie Retallick. He's had a big old game, and he's leaving the field now, and he'll be replaced by Dalton Pavali'i, who's a big, strong man.
At the same time, Will Jordan's come off, so he's not going to be breaking that record held by Julian Savea, Jonah Lomu and Brian Habana of 8 tries in a tournament. Anton Leonard-Brown has come on, and he was huge when he came off the bench against Ireland in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, absolutely. The voice of All Blacks legend Andrew Mertens, who was at fly half the last time these two great rugby nations met in the World Cup final. We've waited 28 years. That one went to extra time. This one still could, but with the gap being 1 point, probably unlikely. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12, as Faf de Klerk prepares to feed. A bit of a nervous hush around the stand. South Africa haven't been able to get real scrum dominance, and New Zealand have done really well to lock that scrum up and force de Klerk to use it. So unlike last Saturday, the Boks haven't been able to get those penalties from the scrum, but they are getting some ground with the ball in hand. And Curly Aronson's up against Mark Talaire on the far side, and he's tackled Aronson, but not before the Boks make 15 metres. De Klerk's up the short side. Oh, how did Mwanga take that? And I wonder if Barrett might counter-attack. He's going to get caught by Quacker Smith. He has now. He's kicked downfield. It's Kolbe. Will he fancy a drop goal? Cheslin Kolbe from halfway. Oh, he's pushed that right. That looked a long shot. And what's Mwanga doing? He's got to let that bounce. Mark Talaire. Mark Talaire then kicks the touch, but Richie Mwanga just has to take his time. He was under no pressure. And I think after all that, it is a line out to South Africa over on the far side. And Bobby, you think that Mwanga's knocked that on?
Wow, I can't really see, and we haven't. Oh, what a lovely take from Richie Mwanga.
Seeing a replay of him catching de Klerk's kick, then he kicked Mwanga. Kolbe attempted the drop goal. Mwanga weirdly tried to catch it on the full, but he could have just let it bounce. But after Talaire's kick, it is now a line out over on the far side. South Africa ball, and the gap, Matt Dawson, is still that solitary point.
Yeah, Faf de Klerk just kicked it. It was like a game of dodgeball. You know, when you throw it as hard as you can at someone's gut, and Mwanga, it stuck beautifully. We're in for a 10 minutes here, boys, to remember.
Oh, we've said that so many times this World Cup. 8 minutes to go. It's been a bit of an ugly final, if we're honest, but it has been incredibly compelling. We saw John Smith sitting next to Francois Pienaar. Is Sir Kolisi, he's already joined them as a World Cup winning captain. Is he going to have 2 to his name? De Klerk again up the short side. Lovely inside ball from Faf de Klerk. Dion Fourie comes away with it. Turned over by New Zealand. Are they going to counter? They might have numbers here. Anton Leonard-Brown, 10-metre line. He's fresh. Over halfway. Right, Kolbe could be in trouble for the deliberate knock-on. But they're playing on New Zealand. Geordie Barrett. 14 men New Zealand now deep in Springbok territory. Christie to Mwanga, they've got their tails up, New Zealand. Sam Whitelock offloads. Mark Talaire, he's there again. Still Mark Talaire. What a tackle, Quacker Smith. That saved the World Cup for now. Christie out to Bowden Barrett. Big tackle, Kolbe. How are South Africa keeping them out? How are New Zealand coming with 14 men? Scott Barrett. Do they think drop goal for the lead? They've got the field position. Richie Mwanga, Nepo Laulala. 25 metres out. Back we come for a penalty. Penalty New Zealand, and a chance on 73 minutes, but it's a long way out. It's Cheslin Kolbe, we spotted it, that Kolbe came through and knocked the ball on as he went for the tackle, and they're checking whether Kolbe is going to go to the bin. I don't think we're penalty try territory from this far out. And let's listen into the officials.
We'll hear the
deliberate knock-on.
Okay, so the ball. Okay, so that's a penalty.
Cover is coming now. Here we go.
So good line break opportunity, yellow card. Everyone agree?
Okay.
11.
Cheslin Kolbe's going to the sin bin here. as he went to tackle, he kept his arm out. It was either unlucky or cynical, you decide. But Cheslin Kolbe is not going to play any further part in the World Cup final. And for the last 7 minutes and 14 seconds, we are 14 on 14. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. And now Ardie Savea, Geordie Barrett and Atal need to decide if Geordie Barrett's going to have a shot for glory.
He had to. That's a match saver. I know it's not a penalty try, but that 2 or 3 All Blacks would have flooded through for an inside ball 2-on-1 with the full-back. New Zealand finished that score under the post, 7 points. That is potentially a World Cup winning, let's say, act. There we go. Yeah.
Well, you guys have played the game at this level. I mean, Bobby, he will argue he's tackling, but because his arm is out so wide, he's also trying to stop the pass too, isn't he?
Yeah, look, I think so. I mean, I think it is deliberate. It's a yellow card offence. You can't really go against that but I think it's deliberate, as in he knows what he's doing because he's trying to stop, a player get away and then have a 2-on-1 situation a little bit later. It's a long old kick from this man, Geordie Barrett, but he can get these.
Shades of Pollard last week. 50 metres, maybe more on the angle. Geordie Barrett, not the regular goal kicker, but he gives it an absolute thump. Here's Geordie Barrett for the lead. He's given it a whack. He's missed it to the left. He had the distance, but he's pulled it left. And South Africa hang on. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. Andrew Mertens, you had a great view of that.
Yes, and he was always going to have the distance. These fields are a little bit short. It's not quite the 50 metres. I'm not trying to take away from a great effort by Geordie Barrett, but probably 3 or 4 metres short than you might think on a fully sized field. He had plenty of distance. They're still on the right end of the paddock, the All Blacks.
Well, we're at that stage where the next score is everything, as Mwanga takes the drop off and Mark Telea, who has been a force of nature on the left wing, he sets it up. Jasper Wiese is now on for Kolisi. I think all 7 forwards are on for South Africa, as is Willie LaRue with Pollard off. Mwanga, Geordie Barrett, it's gone forward, has it? Yes, it has. We were straight down the line of that, and it's going to be a scrum to South Africa. And did Matt Dawson, the All Blacks, need to force it quite like that?
I don't think they did. I really don't think. The All Blacks they're at 6s and 7s with some of these key decisions right under pressure, and let's face it, this is the ultimate pressure cooker for rugby right now. And ordinarily New Zealand will find better places to attack, but they're throwing the kitchen sink at South Africa. You can't blame them, but it's just a bit misdirected, unfortunately, for the All Blacks.
Well, it's still so tight, but they've given possession back to South Africa with a scrum. Just worried about that. The turf, we've had incessant rain on and off and on and off, and then it's dried up now. But underfoot, will South Africa feel comfortable that they can get the ascendancy they want on a big scrum?
Bobby, you're in the middle of that South African pack right now, having a chat. It's the World Cup right now. This is a World Cup scrum. This is the moment that you dream of. With a dominant scrum, putting your world on the line for this moment.
The only forward remaining from the starting 15 is the unstoppable Pieter-Steph du Toit on this blind side, as the scrum is locked. New Zealand have just about held South Africa at bay here. They're still holding them at bay. Can South Africa get a shove? No, de Klerk comes away with it. Out from Pollard to Kriel. Pollard back on after the blood. Kriel driving to about 25 metres out. Will he look for a drop goal? Andre Pollard, the big game player. The biggest game player. As South Africa drive on once more, they're almost up to the 22. He is in the pocket, is he, Pollard? He will drop for back-to-back World Cups here. 4 minutes to go. 1 point the lead. De Klerk back to Pollard. He goes for the drop goal. It's charged. It's charged. And New Zealand have it, and they might come away with it. Geordie Barrett. Pieter-Steph, what a hit again. He's almost made 30 tackles. And now it all comes down to composure. 4 minutes to go. New Zealand 11. South Africa 12. It's 14 on 14. Damian McKenzie's on. Williams is on at loosehead. And they're at the wrong end of the pitch here, New Zealand, as Barrett finds his younger brother Geordie. That was Bowden to Geordie, and Geordie makes a metre or two. but they're still inside their 22, and their forwards look spent. They've got to go to the boot, surely. Back to Bowden Barrett. He kicks downfield. Pollard will fancy another drop, will he? No. He stays down the left-hand touchline, Andre Pollard, and he sets it up. He gets it away to Peter Steff. Peter Steff, the toy. Great tackle, Scott Barrett. Inside to the Clerk. Then it's gone forward, New Zealand scrum. But it is all taking place, Bob Skinstad, deep in New Zealand territory, right where South Africa want it.
No worries, mate.
Unbelievable play there from both teams. Andre Pollard, I think, very smart, not giving the ball back to New Zealand. Well, the lovely little guy. I mean, Peter Steff, the toy. He's 20 foot tall. He's got 8 arms and legs. I've never seen a guy play a match like that. He's made 27 tackles on his own. Absolutely unbelievable. And about 5 or 6 of them have been game changers.
Matt Dawson will bring in Andrew Mertens shortly, but he is so close to that scrum. Whatever he says, they can probably hear. We don't want him putting off the front rows as they prepare to engage. Finlay Christie about to feed the scrum. And New Zealand, do they have to run it from here? 14 on 14, 1 point down. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. New Zealand scrum. They need a quick heel, they need it in and out. As Christie does feed, they get that heel. What are New Zealand going to do? Will they look to kick to get it out of here, or will they run? Rieko Ioane does run. Quacker Smith makes the tackle. Decent carry, Ioane. Christie, they're going to kick on his terms. Charge down, Faf de Klerk. And South Africa are all over New Zealand here.
South Africa all over New Zealand. New Zealand are all over the show. All over the show. I mean, there's 3 minutes to go. You go into a training ground exit. Excuse me. They've got to stretch South Africa somewhere, and it's not in a box kick.
Takeaho, well taken. Retallick, they're 10 metres from their own line. They're trailed by a point. Mackenzie, Geordie Barrett, Rieko Ioane, nice and intricate, but they're still 20 metres from their own line. Maybe a hint of an overlap. Damien Mackenzie, Quacker Smith there. Who else but Peter Steff, the toys there? They have taken it. They've got no scrum half in there, New Zealand. Oh, he's up on his feet now. 1 point in it. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. But the All Blacks are going to have to go 70-odd metres here. Bowden Barrett, Damien Mackenzie, right touchline. Oh, that's nicely done from Papali'i up to halfway. Mark Tellaire's in there, of course he is. Now they might have an opportunity, New Zealand. Bowden Barrett, Scott Barrett, the brothers everywhere, all three playing to the last. Good pick up, Christie. Out it goes to Tellaire. If anyone's going to spark it, it's going to be the winger. 55 metres out of South Africa, look for the steal. They don't have it. Bowden Barrett. Down on the left touchline, New Zealand come once more through Anton Leonard-Brown. They've done so well to go 40-odd metres. Are they in drop goal range? Are they in penalty range? As they go once more through the forwards. Halfway line. 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. Peter Steff's up there. Rieko Ioane couldn't quite get it away. Quacker Smith's in there to steal. He's first man. And South Africa have turned it over. Wild pass out from the box. And Visa, but there for Creel. Creel kicks straight down the throat of Damien Mackenzie. 45 seconds left, a point in it. Mackenzie on halfway, he skipped. Mackenzie over to the far side. And who else but Ardy Surveyor? Still Ardy Surveyor. Why is he trying to offload that? Just keep hold of the ball. And then Leonard-Brown loses it forward. Surveyor had to keep hold of the ball. 30 seconds left, and South Africa are almost there. One successful Springbok scrum, Bobby Skinstad, and South Africa are back-to-back champions.
Unbelievable play. The All Blacks, I've got to take my hat off to them. I mean, Ardy Surveyor, he gave absolutely everything. I thought that there was a possible out here, but no. Well done to Faf de Klerk, who almost got him, but Dalton Papali'i was careering up the touchline. It's South Africa versus New Zealand. It's a clash of the ages, and we're seeing images on the side of Cheslin Kolbe. He's got his jersey over his head, his eyes. He can't take it anymore. It's one more scrum between South Africa and legendary status in world rugby. New Zealand got it at their fingertips as well.
Andrew Mertens, 23 seconds left as the clock is stopped, water is on. Can New Zealand come back from this? It's one South African scrum and it's over.
Yeah, I don't think so. You've got to rely on a South African mistake here, and they've shown how ruthless they are, how they've got the habit of winning, the big match temperament. I think I think it's impossible for New Zealand. I mean, nothing's impossible, but this is about as close as it gets.
Well, some of the New Zealand replacements and those not playing are walking down in front of us to get pitch side. South Africa, their fans, their players, the coaches can barely look. But it's going to be the scrum. And if you offered them before the game, one scrum for glory, they would have ripped your arm off. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12, 23 seconds left. Aaron Smith is on the verge of tears on the touchline. It's a chaotic scene down there as everyone gets ready to invade the pitch. And it's one scrum, Matt Dawson. It's one scrum on their own put-in for South Africa to go back-to-back.
Yeah, and listen, New Zealand, they're going to put everything into this. They're going to go for the penalty. This is a moment for them as much as it is for South Africa. South Africa can't just hold the scrum because you know New Zealand are going to... they're going to try and cheat in some way to get any kind of momentum, to make Wayne Barnes make a call.
The World Cup hinges on this. World Cup history hinges on this. The clock is almost up. South Africa didn't put it in. New Zealand wait for a huge drive, but it's going to be a reset. There are 7 seconds left. Artie Sever saying to Wayne Barnes, he's got to put it in. Referee Wayne Barnes is having a reset. South Africa lead by 12 points to 11 with 7 seconds left of the World Cup final. And once again, a knockout game is coming down to this.
Do not think for a minute that this is a stroll in the park because it's a scrum and it's South Africa, that they're going to win the ball and just kick it into... Faf de Klerk's just going to kick it into touch. New Zealand have got something here. Mertz is going to be on the edge of his seat. He's just going to be having a look at the hit. He's just going to be having a look at the nudge.
I was on the edge of my seat before. I've just hit the damp ground. I came slipping off. I don't think Wayne Barnes is going to be the sort of ref who gives away this crucial penalty. Much as I'd love him to, I don't think he's going to make that toughest of calls. He's had a good game tonight.
Here we go, everyone. New Zealand 11, South Africa 12. The clock is up, and Faf de Klerk, has he got it back? It's a huge New Zealand scrum. Artie Sever's all over it, but it's in Bok possession. And this is going to be it. The ball's unplayable. It's going to be a stoppage here. It's going to be a scrum. It is. And that is it. And South Africa have done it again. 29-28 over France. 16-15 over England. And extraordinarily, 12-11 over New Zealand. 3 knockout matches. 3 wins by a point. South Africa go back-to-back, and they become the first nation in Rugby World Cup history to win it 4 times. Can you believe what we've just seen, Bobby Skinstad?
Oh, unbelievable stuff. I'm choking up here. I mean, it's an amazing achievement in a match like that. I really want to commend New Zealand. They came with absolutely everything. They were up against it. They had a card. They had less players. But in terms of the matchup that we thought we were going to get tonight, it 100% delivered.
Gentlemen and listeners, we just witnessed, I think we've witnessed the greatest ever rugby side, ever. What South Africa have just done in this tournament, it is simply remarkable. Simply remarkable to have the way that they came through their group and these knockouts and who they played and who they beaten is, I don't think will ever be surpassed. And all with the label of current world champions. The target was on their back. Simply remarkable.
Well, South African celebrations, it's reminiscent of 4 years ago in Yokohama. That night they steamrolled England 32-12. They beat England out the gate, really. This time they've gone and dug deep for the 3rd week in a row. We asked whether they could do it once. We asked whether they could do it twice. They've gone and done it 3 times. Sam Kane's early red, potentially decisive. And New Zealand gave it everything in that second half. An ugly final full of incident. And it's South Africa and their fans who celebrate. And the Rugby World Cup has been won 4 times by South Africa. And when it comes to the men's edition of the tournament, no team has done that before. They are the greatest Rugby World Cup nation in history. They've beaten New Zealand, South Africa by 12 points to 11.
Wow. Have we ever seen a final with quite so much drama? It was billed, wasn't it, as a potential classic, and it did not disappoint. It was the sort of gladiatorial contest we've seen between Federer and Djokovic in their pomp, both of them in the crowd this evening, and it's gone the way of South Africa, who are champions again and for a record 4th time. Martin Johnson, high praise from Matt Dawson, just said we've just seen the greatest World Cup team ever. Do you agree?
Well, they've won it consecutively. They were very, very strong tonight. I think New Zealand, if they look back at that game, I think they tried to play too much rugby too early, played into South Africa's hands. They lost the possession game and lost the initiative early on. They wrestled it back in the second half with their line out. South Africa didn't score a point in the second half. New Zealand had a try disallowed. To me, if I was Sam Cane, someone's got to explain to him why he went off the field and Kolisi didn't. He put his head into someone's jaw and he stayed on the field. I wouldn't have sent either of them off. They were both accidents, but one captain's been off the field for 15 minutes and the other guy hasn't. So when Sam Cane asked the question to the officials, why did I go off and the other guy didn't? I'd like to know what the answer to that is.
Yeah, it was a pivotal moment, wasn't it, with Sam Cane's red card early in the first half. Just tell me though what it's like. You know, you've been here. Your final was dramatic, a drop goal in extra time. What's it like to be in the middle of this right now?
Yeah, it's elation. They have relief that they've won a very, very tight game. Yeah, it's what you play the game for. If you're lucky enough to be in a team good enough to come and win a World Cup, they've done it amazing. They had such a tough draw through here. They had to beat the hosts. So yeah, incredibly tough games, and they had a dramatic game last week as well. But it suited them to the conditions today. That New Zealand didn't really have a plan B. Once their handling couldn't get through, I don't think they had enough sophistication in their kicking game to put pressure on South Africa, and South Africa's kicking game put a huge amount of pressure on New Zealand throughout, and they didn't handle it particularly well, so they always had that to go back to. And once they were behind, they did incredibly well actually to get to where they did, New Zealand, considering they played the majority of the game with 14 men.
Andrew Mertens, you're uniquely placed to see both the agony and the ecstasy, aren't you?
Well, I'm seeing the ecstasy right at the moment. The Springboks are celebrating right in front, and they're being absolutely adored by their crowd, as they should be. That's an outstanding effort. But yeah, you take your hats off to the South African team. New Zealand had their opportunities, maybe tried to play a little bit of catch up, but that was a reflection of the fact they were behind all the time on the scoreboard. So, maybe some little moments that it could have gone differently for the All Blacks, but the Springboks thoroughly deserving their victory. They were huge tonight on defence. They also were a threat at times, so they were constantly a threat when the ball did get wide to Arendse or Kolbe, but then that huge figure, that dominating figure of Peter Steph du Toit, who was absolutely enormous, and there'll be some very sore New Zealand bones and muscles thanks to his efforts.
Yeah, the podium is just being put in place on the middle of the pitch. There's a cutout of the Webb Ellis Trophy immediately behind it as the South African players celebrate. There's tears on both sides actually. Faf de Klerk's in tears. The All Blacks, no doubt, will be shedding tears as well. Peter Steph du Toit has been named the player of the match, and that's little wonder. He's got a corking black eye on the right side. He put his body and soul into it this evening for the Springboks. Dawes, tell us what it's like to be down there right now. You've been in the middle of all of this, experience what it is to win a World Cup.
Yeah, well, it's you're in dreamland, aren't you? You're go into everywhere you turn. It's not just the players that you play with, it's the guys off the bench, the guys that haven't played, it's the management, it's the support staff, it's the kit man, it's probably the chef, it's the bus driver. Everybody is on that field, and you want to have a special moment with them, and then like the South Africans now, they're into the crowd, they're probably where their family, their friends are, that have travelled the world with them over this 4-year period. You know, they know that they've been doubted tonight. They know that New Zealand were probably the favourites. Everyone was doubting and saying South Africa didn't have enough in the tank. It probably has given them that little bit of fury and with the excitement and the euphoria. It's an amazing memory to have post the whistle, because people will remember the trophy and the trophy presentation, and Martin would be the first to say he couldn't give a monkeys about the trophy presentation. It's these moments of being in amongst friends, family, on and off the field that you will remember for the rest of your life.
There's a lot of emotion flooding around at the Stade de France at the moment. And there was so much emotion, Bobby, from Cheslin Kolbe, sat watching the closing stages of that match. He could not watch as he sat on the naughty step, having been sent off towards the end of that match. Can you begin to imagine the release for him when he realised that his mistake was not going to cost South Africa?
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, he was good tonight, Cheslin Kolbe. He was very, very incisive in attack. He made some very good hits, carried the ball beautifully. He made those 2 long-range drop goal attempts, which were a bit silly, I felt, but the rest of the time he was good. And that, the yellow card, he's sitting on the bench, he's got the jersey over the head. He didn't want to look at any of it, Sonia, and I think that's because the emotions were running so high for him. Because all of this team feel that they're part of the collective, and everybody wants to contribute their best and as much, if not more, than the next man. So I'm really pleased for him that it didn't fall over like that. But there's also a big shout out, guys like Dion Fourie who came on. My heart goes out to Bongi Mbonambi, who's been really good in this tournament. Dion Fourie came on and played 77 minutes. He struggled a little bit on some lineouts in the middle, but then he got it back together again, and he was outstanding talking to the referee and keeping South Africa in it. So a lot of players had a good game tonight.
Cheslin Kolbe he's gone into a casino in that moment and he's put his mortgage
on green 11.
On 11. He has. He's gone in there, he said, right, I'm writing a check, the lot on 11 on that, and it has dropped big time, because that's a massive moment where he knew he had to cut that pass down, and he was sacrificing himself away in that split second. So, sometimes you gamble, you're the villain. On this occasion, you sort of want to applaud him for taking that gamble, because it's paid off.
Yeah, it was the deliberate knock-on. He spent 10 minutes in the bin. Ultimately, though, it didn't cost his team, but boy, was he put through the ringer in those last few moments of that match. A man, we've mentioned him a lot, haven't we? Steph du Toit, player of the match after a heroic defensive effort. He's put in 510 million tackles tonight and deservedly took the plaudits. Let's hear from him.
Firstly, I want to give our Heavenly Father thanks for giving us the opportunity and for helping us as a team through this World Cup and through the whole campaign. It's an unbelievable honour and a privilege to play with this team and giving us the opportunity. This last 3 games was quite tough. Each one we played as a final, and each one was by 1 point, so it was quite tough for us, and we're quite happy with the win.
There was so much drama in that match. How did you manage to get through with that win?
I guess as a team we like drama. We've been having drama for the last 3 years at the moment, so I think it helped us a lot as a team to cope through the drama and to handle it, and I think it shows the resilience of this team and the whole South Africa as well.
South Africa now becomes the only country to have won 4 Rugby World Cups. What does that mean to this group to achieve that?
For the whole of South Africa, we're honoured to be able to play for you guys and to play for the Springboks, and I know that when we go back home it's going to be a warm welcome for us, and we really want to thank everyone for supporting us and all the people that came through. I know it's expensive for us to come and support us, and I've got so much friends and family, and I know the whole 64 million South Africans are supporting us, so we're quite thankful for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
64 million South Africans supporting us. Echoes of Francois Pienaar all the way back in 1995 when these two teams last met in a final. It was the Springboks, of course, that day who also lifted the trophy with Pienaar as the captain. The crowd, they're well waiting here very patiently because they want to see that moment, don't they? They want to see the trophy lift with Siya Kolisi raising aloft the trophy for the second time in a row. Back-to-back finals they've won. It's all happening still. They're down on the pitch. And Sarah Orchard's amongst it.
Thanks ever so much, Sonia. Yes, they've erected a big stage in the middle of the park where there's a large replica of the trophy. But I have to say, Damian Willemse, the South African fullback, he is going to be on the dance floor all night if anything is to go by what we've already been witness here pitch side. Just so many hugs, cuddles. All of the South African players and families have all made their way down. They've all come on for photos on the pitch. I saw one very lovely moment where even Etzebeth managed to pick up Cheslin Kolbe and give him a huge cuddle. It's actually Cheslin Kolbe's birthday today, we've been told. So for him, it did turn out all right in the end. What a birthday present as they make their way around now. And as much as I'm talking about scenes of joy, Sonia, I'm also looking at the All Blacks as well. They're stood just to the left-hand side of the stage. They've all got their hands on the hips, so their arms folded. Some of them are knees bent down on the floor, can't quite comprehend what has just happened, but it is all joy for the South Africans.
Yeah, we will bring you the trophy lift with Chris Jones very, very shortly. Yeah, the All Blacks look absolutely devastated. Mertz, if you had a chance to go over to some of your countrymen, you know, what might you say to them?
Oh, just that we're proud of them. I think that was an awesome effort up against a very big physical team to play so much of the match down to 14 men. They had some opportunities, but they've let no one down. They were in it to the end. They kept swinging. Yes, we made mistakes, but they kept giving it a go, and that's all you can ask of them. I think the country should be proud of them, and you know they'll be hurting. There's nothing you can say that can make it feel any better. But just knowing that the country's behind them, and you know, not angry at them for a result, proud of them for what effort they've put in tonight. They were awesome.
And what would you say to Sam Cane in particular?
Well, he wasn't in charge of his own destiny tonight. He's not a guy that's that's renowned or notorious for being a dirty player. He certainly makes hard tackles, but always very legal, and just a little bit of bad luck tonight on another occasion. That might not have been a red card. Again, he's let no one down as well. The way he's led this team, particularly through the quarterfinals and onwards, and led by example, he's got nothing to be ashamed about. Like I say, he wasn't in control of his destiny tonight, and he gave it everything, and that's all you can ask of your captain as well.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it was contrasting for both captains tonight, wasn't it? Sam Cane a red card. Siya Kolisi also sent to the bin, but his was only a yellow. And he has eventually led his team to victory here in the World Cup final. And we can hear from him now.
I want to give credit to the All Blacks. They took us to the end. They took us to a dark place. It just shows what kind of team they are, to fight with the men down from early in the game. And they fought and they put us so much under pressure. But yeah, credit to my boys too for that fight. Yeah, I'm just grateful we could pull it off.
Tell me about that contest tonight. There was drama, there were cards on both sides. How do you think your side managed to just hold it together?
Well, we lost our hooker in the early part of the game, and then we obviously had to adjust to that. There's a lot of pressure on us. They put a pressure on our lineouts, but we found a way. Somehow we found a way. And honestly, I don't think people that are not from South Africa don't understand what this means for our country. It's not just about the game on the field. Our country goes through such a lot, and we are that bearing hope that they have. And yeah, we're just grateful that we can be here. And I just want to tell the people of South Africa, thank you so much. Children from a third world country, who just fight and fight over and over, for people that need hope. And this team just shows what diversity can do for our team, for our country as well. As soon as we work together, all is possible, no matter in what sphere, on the field, in offices. It just shows for what we can do there, and I'm grateful for this team. I'm so proud of it.
And it won't be long before Siya Kolisi was in the centre of that podium, raising aloft the Webb Ellis Trophy. You've done that, of course, Martin Johnson. What do you make of Siya Kolisi as both a player and a leader of this team.
Well, he's a fantastic player, but I think we don't in the UK really understand what what South Africa is. The nuance, the complication of over there. So as he said there, I was over there this summer, and there's many different cultures there, and to bring them all together, and rugby's doing a great job of that actually. And you see the team that's played tonight, how multicultural it is. It's a fantastic thing. So it's bigger than just a game of rugby for them, as he said.
Yeah, well said, Jono. I mean, I was just sitting here choking up listening to Sia and then listening to yourself. It's a great comment and very magnanimous, but I think it is reflective that Sia Kolisi, every time he gets a chance, he turns around and talks about family, talks about people at home, and all those people who mean so much to him and this game that means so much to them. So great privilege to be part of this here this evening with you guys. I do feel desperately sorry for the All Blacks, because there's a winner and there's a loser in every competition, and South Africa are on the right side of the coin. Maybe next time it'll be someone else, and in particular I hope it is the All Blacks, because I think during this World Cup they've really stood up to be counted to a man. I feel particularly sorry for Sam Cane, who I think is an outstanding player, an outstanding leader, and for him not to be on the field for all of the match tonight was really disappointing for him and for the players around him.
And we almost saw Aaron Smith sign off as an All Black, Matt Dawson, with one of the greatest tries we would have witnessed in any match. But sadly, it was not allowed. Give us your appreciation of him as a player and his legacy with the All Blacks.
Well, there are plenty of All Blacks that have amazing legacy to look back on. There are a fabulous bunch of rugby players and have played some scintillating rugby, but in big games, and it doesn't get any bigger than this, your big players have to step up, and time after time New Zealand have looked at the likes of Sam Whitelock and Retallick. In the past they've looked at Kieran Reid, McCaw, but across all of those games, the engine just annoying people constantly has been Aaron Smith for well over a decade. He will be missed across the international game, but has done a fabulous job in that black number 9 jersey, and he has had a role to hold on to that jersey, look after that jersey, and as the Kiwis always say, hand it on to somebody else, a better jersey, and no question Aaron Smith has done that.
They're going to have to find somebody else, Mertz, aren't they, to lead the Haka now?
Yes, he stands tall, doesn't he, for a man of his stature amongst giants on the field. He's stood very tall. He's got everything that you want in a halfback. He's had a really accurate kicking game. He runs, he's very nippy, he gets in support, he runs beautiful lines, but then his pass, which is what we talk about, it's where he's led the world, and his ability to throw a 2 or 3 metre pass and throw a 23 metre pass with the same precision and the same speed and just the same flat ball, where he can hit any one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 runners and choose the right option as well, has been extraordinary. And like Dawes says, the team with all these big players have been built sort of around him over the years, and counting on his expertise in the 9 jersey.
Well, the All Blacks having to take the walk that no team wants to in a final, and that is as runners-up to receive their silver medals from President Macron of France and Bill Beaumont, chairman of the World Rugby. And an interesting night, isn't it, been for Sam Cane? That red card early in the first half, meaning his team were having to play with a man down for the large majority of that match, probably proving ultimately decisive overall. Let's hear from him now.
Obviously extremely gutted and disappointed. First of all, that the fact that the boys had to play with 14 men for the last 50 odd minutes. Look, I thought the courage that they showed out there tonight was incredible. The whole team's absolute warriors, and look, it's tough. I'd like to say well done to South Africa. Back to back. They've been a fantastic team. They've had a heck of a tough road to the final, and they've showed time and time again they find a way to win. So, well done, South Africa.
You can hear in his voice, can't you, the disappointment and the devastation from Sam Cane. Before we go to commentary from Chris on this trophy lift, John Martin, ultimately when the All Blacks will sort of take a step back and in cold light of day reflect on what has happened here today, was that red card pivotal to the outcome of this match or not?
Well, it's huge, but I just think they lost a little bit of composure. It's quite surprising watching this game. I've never seen an All Black team, particularly early on, dominated as physically. But even right at the end, they had the ball just outside South Africa's 22. South Africa chanced their arm at the breakdown. That is what they do. They get away with some, they get penalised for some. And that's fine, that's how you play the game. If you're a point down in the last minute of a World Cup, you cannot chance your arm anywhere near as much. So just retain the ball. Retain the ball and get yourself in position and make it difficult for them. And they threw that last pass and it was knocked on. And don't do that. They did it 3 or 4 times in the second half. They forced little passes on a wet day against the most ferocious defence you're ever going to face. And you think, just retain the ball and see what happens next. So I think they'll, I said at half-time, they need to play the game of their lives now. But South Africa didn't score a point in the second half. So they did most of that. They just did not finish it off right at the end. I thought they should have kicked their penalties when they had the chance. They played down into the corner. That's where South Africa defends strongly, because they're going to chance their arm even more when they're in your own 22. So put them under pressure, kick your goals. I think if they look at it coldly, the Sam Cane thing's huge. But even with that, they had a chance to put this game away. I really enjoyed the game because at times it was scrappy, at times it was chaotic, it was brutally physical, and it was a fantastic game of rugby. It wasn't like a polished game of rugby, but that's not always what rugby is. Rugby's 30 blokes slogging around, and it was a muddy day. And I will always go back to, unfortunately in this game, how you can say one accident was an accident and one accident is a red card. Explain that to me.
Yeah, to be discussed, I'm sure.
You can't discuss, done.
Yeah, well,
it's done.
We will still speculate about it and debate it and discuss it.
Sam Cane lives in a country of 5 million people. He will, unfortunately, that will always be with them. The guys who lost in 91, the England guys, they lost a game of rugby. That will always be with them. He's got I'm amazed he could even speak at the end of the game.
Yeah. It's a bit like Sam Warburton as well, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
In the semi-final for Wales, a red card for him as well. Yeah, poor Sam Cane. You have to feel for him, don't you? The Webb Ellis Trophy is on its plinth. It's catching light under these floodlights this evening, shining brightly. There it is, and it's about to be presented to Siya Kolisi in South Africa. It's already been engraved with the name of the Springboks, who've gone back to back as they start to make their way to the podium to receive their gold medals. The trophy lift is imminent. Chris Jones.
Thanks, Sonia. An amazing moment just down here on the touchline. All of the Springbok players' families were in a huge huddle with what looked like Rachel Kolisi, Siya Kolisi's wife, in the middle of it. Then they all sort of hugged at the end, unified the Springboks on and off the field. As we see now some of the backroom team, Jacques Nienaber, the head coach, Rassie Erasmus at the back, and Bob Skinstad. Of course, this is about the players, but a lot of our chat on the Rugby Union Daily tomorrow and when we debrief this final will be about that coaching team, because whatever they've done, they've ended up with the pot of gold at the end of it.
Oh, absolutely. And yes to the victor, the spoils, and you can carry on about all that kind of stuff. I think this is a team that cared just as much about the assistant physio and the the person who's been the manager and come along and scoped out training fields and hotels and been on the other side of the world away from his family, and they know just as much of what it's like as the players from being away from their family. So really they are hugely, appreciated by the players as a broader squad, and as a management team, as the senior management team, I can only doff the cap. Jacques Nienaber, Rassie Erasmus, and the legacy they will leave will be written in South African rugby history forever.
Yeah, and it's a full team effort, isn't it? Because I know a lot of photographers like the shot to just be of the players, but I imagine South Africa have said no, it's going to be everyone up on the stage. It's going to be everyone, from the kit to the physio to the chef to the person in charge of media. They're going to be at the back with the players at the front. And we saw Felix Jones, one of the assistant coaches, who is heading off to coach England shortly, and he will come to Twickenham with an enormous amount of confidence, rugby IP, and a knowledge of how to win Rugby World Cups. And a final word, Andrew Mertens, from you down to the touchline. It started to rain on you again. Sorry, Mertens, as the All Blacks watch on as some of the Springbok players come forward.
Yes, New Zealanders getting raining on our parade. It's not raining on South Africa. They do not care. What we've seen tonight is we've seen the most resilient team, the most physically and mentally tough team in the world come through. They had the toughest pool to get through. They beat the host team in the quarterfinals. They came through a major fright in the semi-finals, and they've beaten the All Blacks, who were running rampant before this game. You cannot give enough credit to South Africa for what they have achieved in this tournament.
Great stuff, Mert. Pleasure as always having you on 5 Live. Rassie Erasmus has his medal, somewhat the pantomime villain, adored by the Springboks. A few boos from the rest of the crowd, but he does it for one set of people only. He doesn't do it for any fans around the world. He does it purely for South Africa, the players, the fans, and their people. And now one by one forward come the Springboks. How have they done this? Coming out of the toughest pool arguably in Rugby World Cup history, losing here to Ireland all those weeks ago when it felt like summer. Now we're at the start of winter as the rain pours down on the Stade de France. They got to the quarters where they survived an onslaught from the French to win by a point. England were inspired this time last week. They had the game won, but the Boks came through. And then tonight, the All Blacks with 14 men bossed the second half. A kick to win at Mwanga, a kick to win at Geordie Barrett. But you cannot prize this Rugby World Cup from the vice-like grip of the Springboks. Come what may, whatever means possible, they are getting the job done. And for the second World Cup in a row, they are on top of the rugby world. The forwards are now getting their medals, and whether you wear number 2 or 16, whether you wear 6, 7, 8 or number 20, 21, 22, it doesn't matter. They're all as influential. The 7 forwards made a huge difference. Quagga Smith, immense. The likes of RJ Snyman and Jasper Bisa and the front row all made a difference. Andre Pollard, his nerves of steel that kicked South Africa into a half-time lead of 12-6 that they just about held on to, that they didn't relinquish. He has another medal before he goes back to Leicester. Now it's Franco Mostard and Stephen Kitsoff, the starting lock and prop. And a few more warriors of South African rugby gingerly stepping up. Dwayne Vermeulen could hardly walk at 37, unattached to a club, but deeply attached to the Springboks. There's Evan Etzebeth, he'll be crowned World Player of the Year tomorrow night, you can bet. And then Sia Kolisi with a hug as he waits to shake the hand of Emmanuel Macron of France, and the World Rugby Chairman Bill Beaumont puts a medal round Sia Kolisi's neck. 4 years ago was an iconic moment, another one is coming soon. He doesn't want to be the front man, but he is. Globally renowned, one of the great figures in rugby history now, Sia Kolisi. And with Francois Pienaar watching on from the crowd, 28 years on from 95, the Boks go back to back, and Sia Kolisi once more lifts the Webb Ellis Trophy high into the Paris night sky. The fireworks go off. They Rugby World Cup nation. They have the World Cups to prove it. They've entered 8 tournaments. Remarkably, they've won 4 of them. And South Africa somehow are world champions yet again. And whatever is thrown at them, they always come out on top. South Africa, Bobby Skinstad, world champions once more. And as a former Bok captain, how good does that sound?
How sweet the sound it is. I mean, I've just got to say, to see Kolisi lifting that trophy for a second time means so much to so many people. But here tonight, to the 80,000 odd people who are able to witness it live, it's a really, really, really special moment. Absolute kudos to New Zealand and every player on the field for the effort and the time and the effort that they put into it. And the same for South Africa, in an environment where they've been able to hang on through a difficult tournament for themselves to a tournament that and a trophy that they hold so dear. Amazing to be part of it.
And what about these scenes, Matt Dawson? It's gone dark. A World Cup replica trophy is kind of illuminated in neon red. We've seen this when France won the Grand Slam, the Stade de France transformed into a club. But it's not France celebrating tonight, it's South Africa, who are over there by the dead ball line, in front of their friends and families, celebrating another World Cup win.
Let's not forget, well, I mean, ordinarily, when a team wins the World Cup, doesn't matter what sport, but you know, we're focused on rugby, it is a life changer. Yeah, they're in the moment, they're spraying their champagne, the photos are going to be on the front of magazines and books and memories on walls forever. But back-to-back double world champions is a life-changing moment that, and as I'll repeat, for that Springbok side, how many were 14 double World Cup winners in that South Africa squad, Chris. Incredible scenes.
Sonia.
As the pyrotechnics at the roof of the Stade de France leap into the night sky, it's quite the spectacle. Martin Johnson, Dawes said it. Is this a life-changing moment for these South African players?
Well, they've done it back to back, which is also incredible, because once you've got there and done it, I imagine it's very difficult to motivate yourself to go and do it again. And they were right on the edge in so many games, so close, so difficult. So they've shown such confidence. Someone said to me when they lost in the pool, they just looked so remarkably confident after the game, like it didn't matter in a way. They knew they'd get here and do it. And watching them warm up, very, very just, this is business, this is what we do. And another 1-point game, that whatever happened in the game, they just had that little bit more composure. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. And they made mistakes as well, but they just had more composure. Once the lead was very important, but they're just very, very difficult to beat. Incredibly physical. They just eat you up defensively. And once New Zealand, the ball slowed down, they didn't know what to do to try and put pressure back onto South Africa, and they played into their hands at times. At times they stretched them and they made their breaks, but too much of the time South Africa could absorb them and put them back under pressure. So a very, very difficult team to beat. Some incredible efforts from some guys who are not young men out there as well. But they also just have smart players. Like Quagga Smith comes on and he makes a huge difference. Just by turning balls over, by being in the right place. They're just very, very smart rugby players. They chance their arm at the breakdown. They make the referee make decisions, and they make it very difficult for you. They put you under pressure. So ultimately, that composure probably and their physicality won them the game.
And they have undoubtedly set the benchmark for the rest of World Rugby to follow, as the Webb Ellis Trophy is passed around the South African players. It's currently in the hands of Faf de Klerk, who's kissing and cuddling it and generally having his photo taken with it. Memories that will last, an absolute lifetime. Congratulations to South Africa, who are champions of the world in 2023. Thanks, gang. Hell of a shift.
It was going to come down to a point, wasn't it? And it was always going to come down to South Africa winning by a point.
Grateful to each and every one of you. It has been a total privilege. So thanks to Chris Jones, hell of a shift on the Rugby Union Daily, which will be back tomorrow with all the reaction. To Sarah Orchard down on the touchline and for her contributions throughout this championship. To all our guests this evening, Matt Dawson, Bobby Skinstad, Martin Johnson and Andrew Mertens. And a quick mention to our team behind the scenes. Matt Vigeris, our logistics supremo, the most efficient man on the planet. Our engineers, Nick and Simon, who kept us wired for sound throughout. The hard-working production team, Vic, Odie, Chloe, Rory and Kat, and our very own rugby supremos, Adam and G-Mac. And as the World Cup baton is handed over to Australia, although the party continues here, you can be sure of that for South Africa, I'm going to do the same by passing over to Nick Eardley, who follows the news, and it's from all of us here, it's au revoir.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.